Does it feel like this team has flown just about as under the radar as a 1 seed can be in 2025?
Oh, yeah. I think that's a valid statement. But we kind of like that, to be honest.
A lot of guys could have crumbled in that moment. He didn't flinch, and he drilled the game winner for us.
In our conference, we'd say every week, every single game is a championship game.
Hello, welcome back to Division I Rejects. I'm your host, Kobe Manzo. Tonight, we've got a special episode, and I just mean that we got some really good football to talk about. We're talking quarterfinal, semifinal, playoff football. Every matchup we talk about tonight has the right to be in the conversation of one of the best in the entire year. I think we got a couple legit game of the year type candidates. I got 3 awesome guests, one from each level tonight on the program. First of all, we got Judd Novak, the quarterback from Kutztown, the Golden Bears, one of only 3 undefeated teams left in all of Division III football. He and the Bears have been dominant in 2025. We're going to talk about him hitting the old Heisman on Saturday and their big-time win, and moving forward with that squad, their matchup against Harding. Also have the quarterback from John Carroll, the Blue Streaks, Nick Semptimphelter, joins the show here. Pumped to have him. A big weekend for that family name. Also a big weekend for the Blue Streaks, beating Mount Union for the first time in a long time, being for the first time in the playoffs ever, getting the monkey off their back as they move forward into the national quarterfinal. And then I'll be joined later on in the episode by Rylie Byington, the running back. Too many quarterbacks in this episode. The running back, lowering the shoulder, laying the boom for the College of Idaho, the Yotes. They got revenge over Montana Tech and the Ore Diggers this last weekend to retake a little claim into that Frontier Conference Championship type of situation. So 3 incredible guests on D1R 220 tonight. And then when it comes to the actual games, we've got some seeding drama in Division II football for the semifinals. I'm sure if you are remotely clocked in and checked into the D2 scene on Twitter and other social media, you've seen all about it. But some seeding drama for the semifinals that we'll talk about, of course, with recaps of all those quarterfinal games, some in-depth analysis, and some other kind of talking points, so to speak. We got an underrated quarterback, some national records broken, keys to the game, go around the country, talk about some different things. In Division III, I mentioned it earlier, that John Carroll, that might be the upset of the year in terms of a team that has really worked for that, to work back to national prominence, a program like John Carroll. They've done it. So get a lot of good angles and clips of that game-winning play and some of the reactions from that one down in Alliance, Ohio. And then we also got some top contenders, some teams that are really starting to separate themselves from the rest. North Central, River Falls, we're looking at you guys, man. That has been the 2 kind of that seemingly have separated themselves. Both still have quite a way to go to get to the Stag Bowl in Canton this year, but they definitely appear to be at the top of the pack leading the way. NAIA, some more drama with the quarterfinals. Marian University, they bow out. They have to forfeit. They're DQ'd because of an eligibility issue that they self-report with the student athlete. That sucks for the Knights, sucks for NAIA football. We break it down, talk about some of the drama, some of the rulings there. Still, some really good football at the NAIA level. If you're watching on YouTube, feel free to subscribe, and I would actually encourage you, subscribe, please. Otherwise, wherever you're listening, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you name it, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget timestamps in the description. Fast forward to any part of the episode. We got the little graphics on the bottom of the screen. Fast forward wherever you're talking about your team. Listen to that and then think, hey, these guys know what they're talking about. And then just keep listening to the rest of the episode, or think, hey, these guys are full of shit, and then get the hell out of here. Either way, I appreciate you're here and you're listening, tuning in. Thanks so much for tuning in to D1R this season, and I will stop waffling. Let's get right into the episode. Joining the show tonight, he's leading one of the most dominant teams in all of Division II football. The man, he hit the Heisman after running in his first touchdown on Saturday in another playoff win. It's Kutztown quarterback Judd Novak. What's going on, brother?
What's up, man? How you doing? I'm just happy to be here, dude. This is awesome.
Happy to have you on here. Are we campaigning for the Harlan Hill and Heisman Trophy in 2025?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay, let's get the campaign going. We could start a good little PR train for you tonight. I think that'll be maybe a launch pad for the rest of that. Let's secure it, and then we'll get in touch with those folks over at Heisman and see what we can shake out.
I love that. Let's do it, man.
You have been, all jokes aside, you've been very deserving, man. This has been a team that is a lot of fun to watch, and people I think that have been watching Division II football are familiar with this Golden Bear squad. At least you should be, right? Because of the way you guys have dominated, not just this year. I mean, this is the second regional title for you guys in the last 3 years, right? This is a team that has been in this position and won at this position in very recent history. Frostburg State, a little bit different. some people that maybe aren't familiar with the national scene of Division II football, they may have seen them as a wild card. This is the first ever meeting between you guys. What did you see from that defensive front? And more importantly, how'd you guys really separate yourselves going into the second half?
Yeah, dude, Frostburg, they're a scrappy team. I get a lot of credit to them. They're a good defense. Props to them and their head coach. They reminded me of our team 2 years ago. I mean, just scrappy, would do anything to win. So I give respect to them. And then when the second half hit, I knew that we were going to be okay. I mean, as long as we trusted our coaches and what we got, we have the players to do it, dude. So I knew when that second half hit, we were good to go.
100%. You want to talk about that team a couple years ago. For me, a big sticking point is, Judd Novak as a redshirt freshman or sophomore, you go out and have a great season or a really solid season by any standards in accordance to statistics and winning and every metric that matters necessarily in the sport. For a redshirt freshman or sophomore quarterback to do that, sometimes I think it gets viewed as a little bit of a novelty, right? Like, oh, that's neat that someone that young was able to accomplish something like that. That rhetoric is long gone, right? You've taken control of this offense in a very complete manner. Where is it, in your opinion, do you think you've grown the most over the last couple of years? Because like I said, it's no longer a novelty. It's an expectation that you and this offense are going to dominate on Saturdays. But to get back to my real question, where do you feel you've grown and improved the most over those last couple of years, taking control of this offense?
Yeah, dude, I think it's I've grown a lot in being a leader for the team. So I mean, it's been these past few years have been a journey. When I first came in, I mean, I was just happy to play, dude. That's why I came here at Kutztown, man. I was just happy to play, and then I really just took on that role of being a better leader for the team, and it's continued to progress. And we have a lot of great leaders on our team, like Steve Burkhart, Freddie Redder.
Yeah.
This year it's been different. I mean, I feel like I've been feeling way more calm, way more collected. And just really letting the game come to me. So I've been pretty dialed in and just like I said earlier, we got some playmakers, so it's pretty easy just to give the ball to them, throw the ball to them, hand the ball off to Steve Burkhart or Jaden Stewart, and then our O linemen, man. I mean, they all credit to them. I mean, I love those guys, so they're pretty smart up front too. So it's pretty fun seeing what we can scheme up during the week.
Very quarterback answer right there out of you. Absolutely love that, to deflect, but that's all the mark of a great signal call and a great leader, to your point, and growing in that regard for this team. And, I want to transition and say that a lot of people are infatuated with and love talking about, myself unfortunately included, about how physical and dominant that Ferris State and Harding and Pitt State and Northwest, you go down this list of these teams that have built their identity on toughness. People don't talk about this Bears team enough. And again, myself included, we don't talk about this Bears team enough and what you guys have been able to do. You started to talk about it on the line of scrimmage. Does it feel like this team has flown just about as under the radar as a 1 seed can be in 2025?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that's a valid statement. But we kind of like that, to be honest. We have that culture around here. Coach Clements is a phenomenal head coach, man. I would run through a brick wall for that guy. We have the motto 1-0, and it's a motto where we just got to focus on the week and then focus on that game on Saturday. And so we kind of just take it one week at a time, and we're that nitty-gritty team, man. I mean, we're smash mouth football. I mean, Kutztown runs the ball, but then we can also throw it too. I mean, and then you got our defense. I go against one of the best defenses in the country every day during practice, so they just make me better. So Kutztown, we're a nitty-gritty college, man.
Definitely feels like a lunch pail type of squad, and that's become one of the most, I think that and family, I think, are the buzzwords that are thrown around the most now in college football. KU feels like a lunch pail type of team down there in PA. Absolutely feels like an identifier for the squad. You mentioned Freddie earlier on, Redder. He has had a phenomenal postseason. I mean, getting to the quarterback at a clip that I don't know if anyone else in Division II over the last couple of weeks is doing it as well and as effectively as he is. And, of course, he's one cog in the wheel, so to speak, of that 11-man front, that defense. What is it that makes it so difficult to go against that front? You talk about it, you get to see them in practice all the time.
Yeah, I think it's the amount of depth we have. We just had a guy, LeBron Short. I mean, he just had a great game this past weekend. And he's a redshirt sophomore or junior. So he just stepped up at the right time. I mean, that's what I mean. Like, you got guys like Freddie Redder, Braden Pullman, but you also got younger guys too that step up, and I think that comes from coaching, man. Coach Sella does a great job with the defensive line, and then I think Coach Fargo does an excellent job with the whole defense, just rallying them together. It's awesome watching our defense play, man. I mean, we got so many ball players on that defensive squad, and like I said, they just make me better every day.
You don't get to watch them too much. A lot of 3-and-outs from that group. Get the hell off the field, get you back on it under center. But flip it back to the offense. Tell me about this monster red zone threat that I don't want to say has just emerged, but more recently has become a big part of this game, and your guy Luke at the tight end spot, what he's been able to do, especially this past weekend.
Yeah, dude, Luke, we call him a Swiss Army knife because you can use him anywhere. We use him with the fullback dive, or we can use him in the pass game. Luke's a quiet guy, but he's a guy that you know that he has your back, man. He runs hard as crap, dude. And I get a lot of credit to him, and I love watching him play. And that's another tight end, Gino. He does a great job. He's a smash mouth football guy. But like I said, I mean, it's just all the guys up front. They don't care who you are. It's a faceless opponent in front of them, and we're gonna go attack them.
I love that, man. Yeah, a lot of those guys, and the Swiss Army knife is a great kind of descriptor, qualifier for that position. Unicorn is a word that gets thrown out there with guys like that can line up, whether it's on the line of scrimmage, in the backfield, motion them out to catch a pass, or just to put someone, decleat them into the turf. I mean, a lot of different things you can do out of that spot if you've got the right guy. Now, moving on to this week. A lot of chatter about the host selection process. And again, you talk about these people on the outside. I don't know if they think that the KU football team gets into a room and decides, hey, we're going to host this weekend. That's not exactly how this goes. It gets handed off to some computer much larger than my own, and they crunch some numbers and put some things in. Now, with all that being said, what it comes down to, you guys are staying right in PA. It's crucial that you guys have this home field advantage. It's a very big deal. Tell me about the importance of that, especially given the track record and history, not so recent memory, where there have been some struggles to host some postseason games at KU. How important is it to be on your home field this weekend, man?
I mean, dude, it's awesome. It's truly a blessing. It really is. I couldn't tell you the last time a Super Region 1 team hosted. I think I read some, maybe 2015 Shepherd did. So it's been a while. So we kind of take honor in that, just to put on for the Super Region 1, because I mean, you read stuff on Twitter and you just see kind of the disrespect with Super Region 1, which I mean, the statistics show it, but I mean, I think this is a different team, man. I mean, there's just something about this team. We got a special team, and it's the bond I think that we have. It's truly special. Harding's a great team, and they come from a great region. Mm-hmm. So it'll be exciting to see them come here. And actually, we got graduation on Saturday, so
okay.
Hopefully the graduation people will stay for the game, and it should be packed, man. The read should be packed. Yeah.
We got to get, I don't know if we need to get in contact with like printing services down there at KU or who we need to talk with, but can we get just a line of signs from commencements to football field, place of play immediately? Maybe get on PA right there. Maybe have one of the guys get on as like honorary speaker or something. Let's get a message to go out to that group, family, friends, and whatnot, and kind of herd them into the stadium. Let's work on that.
Dude, that'd be great. I mean, you know what's cool too is our president is huge. He's new this year, and he's huge on football and athletics.
I love that.
So I wouldn't doubt it.
That's never a given, by the way, right? I mean, you and I know that. That's never a given. So to have someone in that spot that's passionate about it is huge.
It's huge, man. So I wouldn't doubt it if he said something at the end of the commencement.
Need it, my friend. Well, you've got a fan in me and a fan in us. You've been exciting to watch. You in particular, also, obviously, that goes to the greater team and that program, that group down there, and just excited, man. I know I was messaging back and forth with Craig Reynolds. I said, we get down there, you know we're going to need a guest picker for the show. So if in some way, shape, or form that ever works out, man, I would, I don't know what I would do. Something electric. But would love to get down there eventually for a game day. For now, I'll just settle for watching on Saturday, man. Thank you very much, Judd. I appreciate you, brother.
I appreciate you for having me, man. This has been awesome.
In Division II football, there's one dark horse team that has stood above the rest throughout the course of this playoff scene. That has been Newberry, fellas. No lead is safe against the Wolves. Can their dark horse run continue? Newberry, they knocked off number 1 in region Albany State 31-24 to advance to the national semifinals. This is a team out of the SAC that I know people were not talking about this team to be a semifinal team, and that makes it all the more impressive for this team to go and do what they've been able to do in 2025. And one play that I think sums up the performance against Albany State, the Rams, comes right before second half. They're kind of getting out there to try and attempt a field goal. Shout out to our good friend from D2Football.com, K-Ferg, for the video. Albany State getting out there ready to set up for the field goal, fellas, trying to get something going, get back on the scoreboard. Tough day for kicking across the entirety of small school football. This game, no exception. The kick up, blocked, scooped up by the Wolves, taken back the other way by, I think, almost 70 yards for a touchdown directly before halftime, and what was one of the biggest momentum shifts of the entire day and the entire game. That made the score a 21-17. Albany State still up, even though they were up 21-3 at the end of the first quarter, boys. Big 2-touchdown swing in that second quarter for this Newberry team, and here we go. Sorry, 21-10 it made it. It was 21-24. I apologize. Newberry took the lead on that. DeVron Williams. My bad. Got my box score flipped up there. But 24-21, Newberry takes the lead on that block kick touchdown. Ridiculous game back and forth.
Yeah, man. And, when you have momentum like Newberry has in this playoffs, it could be really dangerous. They're a dangerous team to play right now. And, some things like that always go right when you're playing like that. When you got the mojo, you got the momentum. And, Reed Charpia is one of the best players in the country, and he's showing it in this playoff run. He's a Harlan Hill finalist, and this guy can just make plays happen outside of the pocket, and he just keeps plays alive and it just changes the momentum of a game. And this Newberry team kind of has a tough draw next week, but beating this Albany State team, being this dark horse, anything can happen with them, it seems like right now.
And one of his running mates in this offense, man, Quez Spells, 159 all-purpose yards, 2 touchdowns for him. Charpia we'll talk about a little bit more in depth here in a minute, but that tandem has been fun to watch. They do it in a variety of ways, too. I think there's no monotony. They're not going to bore you to death in the backfield. They give a lot of eye candy to defensive secondaries. A lot of ways to get caught up. If you're a DB or otherwise looking into that offensive backfield, you can get caught up in a lot of different ways. And again, Albany State, a team that has proven themselves, some big-time wins so far into the playoffs. You're up 21-3. You can't put your foot down and close out a Wolf team like this in the playoffs.
No, we had talked about Newberry and how, they were not necessarily saying they're on a magical run to any sense, but like we talked about, Kobe, if you would have said fill your brackets out at the beginning of the year, I think a lot of people, outside of the people in the team and the organization and the friends and family wouldn't have had them in the Final Four. But once you get that belief, it's almost like a Cinderella run in March Madness. Not saying they are a Cinderella, but it's the belief that, hey, we can beat anybody in any given Saturday. And I think they're playing with that right now. It didn't matter if they were going up against the 1 seed on the road at Albany State or who they beat before. It was
West Florida, man.
West Florida. Yeah, West Florida.
Knocked
exactly.
off 1 and 2 in the region. Impressive.
Exactly. So they don't necessarily care what your pre-rank is, who's on your team, whether you're a Harlan Hill winner or not winner, but in that conversation, they don't really care because at the end of the day, they're a team and all they care about is that at the end of the game, Newberry's got more points than the other team.
Correct. That was the case here. Albany State had a chance. They're down 31-24. A touchdown could tie it up or even go for the win. Shout out Sly, our good friend, Sly the sports guy, for the video. The drop back here, they have one opportunity to make this thing continue, bat it up, bat it out the back of the end zone, and the Wolves will advance to the national semifinal, fellas. Again, one more look at the final play of the game. 21-3, they rally back and win 31-24. They're going to the semifinals for the first time in program history, guys. And the man at the front of that for this offense, Reed Sharpia. He has been phenomenal to watch in 2025, the SAC Player of the Year, and a guy, like you said, who is in very good consideration for the Harlan Hill Trophy. To me, one thing that stands out about him, and we'll talk about some of the other, maybe his attributes, but I kind of mentioned it earlier, the variety of things they do in the backfield. He makes it all look the same. He's very good at tricking the eyes of defenders, whether it's a drop back. They love kind of that cross zone, cross body, across the formation type action with the backs, bringing them in front of him, little play action deal where he might drop back. He's very good about getting the ball out into the flat or on the short dink and dunk, but he's also, a lot of talented in that drop back deal. We've seen him get out in the option as well, and that speed option with Spell, and what that tandem has been able to do on the outside has been impressive. So to me, it's the variety of things that he's good at. Feels like a jack of all trades under center for the Wolves.
Yeah, and when you look at the stat sheet, right, he doesn't have the rush yards, just how college stats are, minus 30 yards rushing last game. But when he gets out of the pocket, he is a dual threat quarterback. And like I said before, he's an improviser. And when you have weapons on the outside and weapons on this offense, if you get out of the pocket, lose contain, it's hard to keep guarding those guys downfield. And he's one of those guys that can improvise and make things happen. This team, it's funny that you just played that, and there was a defensive stand that won the game for him last game, and they kind of did it on all three fronts: offensive, special teams, and defense. So that they're just kind of playing some cohesive football right now, and he's at the top of it, and he just has to stay consistent. He did have 2 turnovers this last game. Can't have that happen against a team like Ferris State next week.
Yeah, that's a big one. And that second quarter, talk about how big of a momentum shift that was for this team, down 3 scores, really, to Albany State. That second quarter started with a Charpia pick and an interception. That was not the way that quarter was supposed to start. They rebound the offense, gets things going in the second part of that quarter going into halftime. But his ability to bounce back from that is huge, Drew.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit it on the head as far as like being a quarterback. I remember even in high school, we didn't run a complex scheme, but it was always make everything look the same, because when it's not, the defenses are gonna react like it is the same. So any type of play action, any type of zone read, like you'll see a lot of coaches be like, "Oh my gosh, carry out your fake." And as a quarterback, sometimes you get a little lazy. You can start to look back. But when you got Sharpia, right? I'm saying that correct?
Charpia, yep.
Sharpie. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. When you got him doing all the little things that are going to lead to the big things that create explosive plays, it's exactly the type of leader that you want. I am with Tim though, right? Like, not saying that Albany State was a slouch or anything like that, but we know what the type of team they're about to play. And the margin of error against a team like the Bulldogs is going to be so slim. So keeping that completion percentage up and the interceptions and turnovers down, moving the chains, not necessarily taking big plays, is going to be huge for them, and building stuff off that. We've seen a couple of teams, right? Like Minnesota State, they had the one drive to start the game, 12 plays. So like we're seeing teams be able to go down. They're not necessarily scoring in a hurry against Ferris, but they're taking their time. They're running, they're being on script. Everything that it takes for a good offense to do very well in the first quarter is going to be great. But another thing I will say, making sure that they're then to be able to get off script is going to be equally as important as being on script for that first drive.
Yeah, and Charpia, too, watching part of this game, fellas, he does a pretty good job, and I think his arm talent is an underappreciated part of his game. His ability to make some off-platform throws, as you might call them, right, where you may not have the shoulders square or going in the right direction, has been impressive. He also has just the straight arm strength to throw the ball, we're talking 30, 40-plus yards downfield and hit a guy when he's open, because we saw that at the beginning of the West Florida game. They strike first and draw blood first in that game and kind of had some things rolling against the Argos. Defense, of course, steps up as well and does their part against Stokes and company, but we have seen that from him. There are some off-platform throws, a tendency to throw it across the formation at certain times. To me, a little scary. I'm personally, I'm going to say stay the hell away from that against Ferris State. These are probably going to be the best athletes that you've seen all season. I know the SAC has got some great ball clubs down there. You're talking about a team that just played West Florida, who, again, we talk about Florida football, some of the best athletes in the country. Albany State, no slouches. All that being said, this Ferris State defensive backfield, with guys like Payout and guys in that defensive backfield. We'll talk previews in a little bit, but to me, that's the best athletes are going to play all year. The off-platform throws could get you in trouble. You see what Ferris does in that defensive backfield, how they're able to hawk to the ball. So, Charpia, that to me is the biggest emphasis. Be very, very intentional with those throws and try to keep that slate clean going into the matchup versus the Bulldogs.
100%.
Let's talk about those those Bulldogs a little bit. Sorry, I cut you off, Drew.
No, it wasn't. We're good.
I just wanted.
I got you. Let's talk about those Bulldogs, man. Back in the semifinals. This is the 7th Super Region 3 championship in the past 9 seasons for Ferris State out of Big Rapids, man. They put an end to the Mavericks' dark horse run of their own right. They beat Mankato 52-21 in a game where the rushing defense from Ferris stands up, and they lock down this Minnesota State rushing attack with Backer and Thompson and company in that offensive backfield. Some really good athletes. That's kind of what they've been known for over there at Mankato for the longest time. But this is a Ferris team that, again, continues to find a will and a way in any kind of given scenario. We saw Carter, Bauer, Gulker all at quarterback over the course of this game. Carter kind of being the true signal caller for this offense, it seems like, moving forward. But another statement win for this Ferris team to get out of SR3.
Yeah, and it's scary, right? Because they did it on the ground. Over 300 yards rushing this game, 175 yards through the air. This team wanted to prove that their defense is up to snuff, up to the challenge, and they proved it. They said that after the game. They wanted to prove that our run defense is one of the best in the country, and they're just looking scarier and scarier every week. This is going to be a tall task for Newberry next week, but right now they're hitting all cylinders. They're averaging 500 yards of total offense per game, averaging 53 points per game. I mean, this is a juggernaut offense. So we'll see how, they respond next week to Newberry and try and get a spot in that national championship.
End of the third quarter, this was a 31-21 game. Like, this was a very competitive ball game for, I think, a majority of it. Now, 2 interceptions from Payout and this Ferris State defensive backfield, that really is a difference maker. That's a 14-point swing. Ferris able to capitalize off both of those fields that the defense gives them. To me, that's the difference in the game. But Brady Rose, he started it off in the fourth quarter, 41-yard touchdown catch at the kind of the first part of that fourth quarter. And then you had Gulker come in, extends that lead from the Wildcat spot and takes the ball, and he is tough to stop when his shoulders get going north and south. That's a big body doing that. They end that with a 52-29 win. They outscore that Mankato team 22-7 in the fourth quarter. So that's a big deal, man. Big deal.
Yeah, you kind of talked about Brady Rose. He's almost like their version of Darren Sproles in the sense of like he can beat you in any aspect of the game. He's been throwing the ball. I think he's got like a 70% completion percentage on the year because they do that jet read, and all of a sudden you see a guy going deep and he just launches it. This team can beat you in any facet. If they need to throw it, they got the guys to, Tariq Brett. They got Brady Rose that can go catch it. Gulker's been effective for them too in the passing game, so they can beat you there. They need to run for 300 yards. They can beat you there too. This whole offense is almost like a Swiss Army knife in the sense that, hey, what tool do we need for this exact play? What do we need for this exact drive? We got it. So we talked about Newberry, how for them it's like, let's make sure that they don't necessarily, try to do too much to hang with the Bulldogs, right? Like, just stay to your game. Ferris, figure out what you're going to do and just do what you do. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing else. Like, they should not have to change their approach for anybody because they're that good when it comes to, being able to run offensively with the run and offensively with the pass, and then just let the defense, get a lead and let those big boys rush and the DBs just hunting for the ball.
Here's a number for you guys. Ferris State, they extend their record this year to 14-0. They've won 28 consecutive games. They've also won 28 consecutive home games going all the way back to 2002.
Oof.
What?
No, there's no way.
Straight from the recap.
That's got to be 2022.
It's got to be because I was doing the math and I'm
Didn't
like 28 games. They've played more than 28 at home. I'm going to go ahead and assume with you that that's 2022.
Didn't they lose at home in the playoffs that one year? It was like shocker.
Good question. I don't know. Not since 2022 they haven't.
I'm looking it up now.
Little typo there regardless, because, yeah, I was doing the math, too. Like, 28 games since 2002. That does not make any sense, a lick of sense. But there you go. And they get to host the semifinal. We'll talk more about the hosting drama a little bit. But, fellas, what are the keys to the game for the Bulldogs? They host Newberry Saturday in Big Rapids, 12 o'clock kickoff. For me, we talked about Charpia and his maybe tendency to have some of those flippant throws. I think if you're Ferris State, and Easton Company has done a very good job of dialing up some very unique pressures, let's throw the kitchen sink at this guy. Let's see how many different pressures we can dial up and get at it. And there's another school of thought that says, to your point, Drew, if something's working, why change it up? If you've got a pressure and you've got a front seven, if you will, that you feel really confident about, just let them go. And honestly, that's probably what they'll end up doing on Saturday. But to me, let's put an extra wrinkle in there. Let's try and manufacture a turnover early on in that game to get him feeling a little bit shaky mentally. Can we do a little bit of a stunt with the interior guys? They've got guys on that front four or front five, whatever kind of front they choose to go with for Ferris, that are athletic enough to do some stunting late to maybe get around and get to the quarterback. What can we do to get him off balance early, dial up a little bit of pressure? And because you have a defensive secondary that has been so sound and is full of fantastic athletes, you can rely on those guys, lean on those guys, bring the linebackers into the fold. Let's get some unique pressures dialed up and get Charpia throwing off balance and off platform early.
Home against GV 2022.
Okay.
Anchor Bunny Classic
There
was
you
the
go.
last one. So it's a typo. But Kobe, I completely agree with you. Let's throw the kitchen sink, knowing that they're coming up to your place. You're the best team in the country in your mind, right? Like, they got to come and beat you, right? Like, the mentality doesn't need to be like, oh, we got to play Newberry. It's Newberry's got to play us.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you have that mentality, and rightfully so, I'm pretty sure they always have that mentality no matter who they play, then you can do whatever you want. The problem is them making sure that don't give up explosive plays. Make them beat you. You know what I mean? Like, don't beat Ferris. Make them beat.
Sure.
Yeah, I think both of you guys hit the nails on the head. I think force turnovers and, don't get caught in the moment. I think establish the run game early, really take it to them. It's just demoralizing for a team, like Newberry, who's had a great season, but can they keep up with the talent up front like Ferris State? So establish the run early and then put them really in the mixer. Start getting that play action going and really take advantage. And, I think, for Ferris State, forcing turnovers is really important. You just hit it on the head, Kobe. Get the blitz going, attack, throw the kitchen sink at him. I love that quote right there. But, I think it can be dangerous though, right? Because if you get a little bit too aggressive,
sure,
and Newberry has a couple of big plays, it could some 50-50 balls go the right way. This could be an interesting game, and you don't want to get too caught up in that either. So I think just controlling the game, controlling the clock, controlling the ground game as well. I think it's going to be huge.
Yeah, they might. Newberry might have that last little 4-minute segment on loop in the locker room and the TVs down there. But that's all right. A lot of rat poison for this Ferris State team as well. But I think obviously seeing this team play, that's the confidence level we have in them. We're not necessarily doing game picks, but I think which way we're leaning here. And again, Newberry has surprised us a couple times the last couple of weeks. This is going to be a competitive football game. By no means are we expecting this one to be a blowout, fellas. And I'll be honest with you, this next game we're talking about, I thought might get ugly. The Harding, the Bisons, they play host to UTPB, Permian Basin, the Falcons come into town. And this one ends up being, like I have here, the potential game of the year candidate, because this Harding team, as dominant as they looked in the first quarter, where Braden Jay breaks off, I think it was a 55-yard touchdown to set the tone. And I'm sitting on my couch thinking, here come those Bisons. This team is absolutely rolling. UTPB does not know what's about to hit them. As much as a fan as I am of that program, they bounce back. X-Line and company, that defense stands up. Watching him and Miller just go boom in the A-gap repeatedly. A lot of CTE probably coming from those hits, but a lot of enjoyment for myself and other football fans watching these two teams go at it. This one ends up being 34-28. Bisons, they squeak it out, so to speak, a 9-minute drive. I think technically like 8 minutes, 50 seconds, but basically a 9-minute drive for Harding to seal the deal. That brings me back a very different kind of ball game. But Drew, if you remember this one, they played Grand Valley a couple years ago in the playoffs. That was like a 7-6 ball game where Harding drove down the entire length of the field, just play after play after play, and ended up punching it in to beat the Lakers and advance. this felt like that drive, like the death march down the field of the Bisons. So a very Harding way to win this, but UTBB, a phenomenal, I cannot say that enough, showing from this squad. Very, very impressed, of course, with Gibson and the offense, but X-line and that defense. That's really where the praise goes from me.
Yeah, 100%, man. And, hats off to this UTPB team all year. This is a team that we didn't talk about too much in the off season, and they showed up and they came and they had a tough schedule, and they came to play every week. And, this is a great way to end the season. I know it's not the way they wanted to, but it was a great showing for this team. They fought to the very end. But it just shows how dominant this Harding team is on the ground, running the ball, 389 yards on the ground, breaking a couple of records too while they're at it. That last drive it just shows you what kind of team they are, just bleeding that clock. And that just has to be so frustrating to watch that from the opposite sideline, especially in that scenario with a trip to the semifinals on the line. It's tough. That's a tough way to go out. But like you said, hats off to UTPB.
And I don't know if you guys saw, but Magnus Lepak, the kicker for Harding, he pulled the Pat McAfee, the self-onside kick and recovery in the first quarter, I believe. It
right
was
after the touchdown.
Flawless.
Mm-hmm.
We did that against SAG last year.
There you go. This one was executed to perfection. I didn't see the Northwood one, but I saw the Harding one. That boy Magnus, he pulled that off. Loved it. Absolutely loved that confident play at home from him. And, of course, you can't talk about this team without talking about the contributions from the man under center, Cole Keelan, friend of the program that we've had on here. He had one of his best days, dare I say, as part of this Bisons team. And that says a lot because he's had some really good performances. And it wasn't because he was 1 for 3 through the air, fellas. That was not why. They did throw the ball 3 times, but they did it on the ground. 17 carries, 148 yards, and a touchdown. He broke that touchdown run off as a 50-yarder for Cole Keelan. This group, really fun to watch. Him, Braden Jay, Andrew Miller, those guys are a very, very dangerous three-headed dragon for Harding.
Yeah, as great as Harding is offensively, 389 yards total rushing yards is kind of just crazy. Defensively is where I'm going to focus on right now. When you hold your opposing team to 52 net yards rushing, you're winning a football game 9 times out of 10. And then also we had talked about the week before how Cannon Gibson was just playing remarkable football. You forced 2 turnovers there too. Just like what we talked about with Ferris. You're going up against Ferris. You're going up against Harding. You're going up against even like Kutztown. Limiting turnovers when you play these teams. That's a huge factor, right? Like Harding isn't going to beat Harding. That's the one thing that they're not going to turn the ball over. So you have to limit those turnovers and you have to find a way to have explosive plays. They threw for 312 yards, but when you only run for 52, it's going to be tough because then it feels like the whole time you're in a pass-a-thon where it's just like drop back. Like controlling the game isn't necessarily like what I would say they were doing.
Curtis Jackson and Josh Gatlin, the 2 big takeaways through the air for this Bison's defense. And, you talk about that performance. Corey Harris, for as talented as a back as that is for UTPB, who we've seen in and out of the lineup recently, but only 4 touches for him on the ground on the day. They resorted a lot through the air. The volume has gone up for Cannon Gibson, what he's been able to do this playoff run. But you left Corey Harris 4 touches to only 12 yards, and Gibson definitely struggled on the day when it came to rushing. He did have 2 touchdowns with his legs, some more short yardage type situations. But again, Harding team that has really impressed in a lot of different ways. And Tim, you kind of mentioned it. This is a team that broke multiple records, man, on Saturday. There was 6,308 rushing yards and 80 rushing touchdowns, both new all-level NCAA records, gentlemen, across all Division 1, 2, and 3 in the NCAA. And I know for a fact that 6,308 rushing yards for single season, that is a record that was broken. The previous record holder, the 2023 Harding team that went on and won the national championship, man. This is phenomenal numbers. And to give you some perspective, because I was trying to look at a team like Northern Michigan, who, of course, has been running the option of late, my Northern Michigan Wildcats. We did a fantastic job of running the football this year. I don't think anyone would argue that. Northern has done a phenomenal job. Noah Dobert is an All-American. He was a Harlan Hill nominee, and we had an offensive line unit that was very good. All that to say, we ran for half that many yards running the option. Harding is not only just running the option, they are doing it at a clip that has never been seen before in all of college football. It's safe to say.
Yeah, they're dominant. Like it's just at the point where like you expect them to run for 300 yards. Like most of the time, Tim and I talked about this a week ago. When you run the option in the way that they do, it's usually teams like Navy, Army, Northern Michigan, no slouch at Northern, but like teams that are trying to like be different, not necessarily teams that are going, I don't know, 14-0 every year.
Yeah.
They're trying to like spice things up to see if they can confuse you. And, like it's not modernized is what I'm trying to say. Harding has not only modernized it, but they've taken it to a new level to where it's just like, this is Harding football, like it or not. And if you don't like it, just get out of the way.
Yeah, man. It's been very fun to watch.
6,000 yards. I mean, some teams aren't even totaling that passing and rushing for the whole season. And they're doing it all on the ground. It's ridiculous. That's insanity. I can't even do that in a video game, And it's just a hard way to guard football. I think, like Drew, like you said, we did talk about it last week, and it's from a defensive perspective, it's so hard to focus. Like prepping for that game is so hard, whether it's any option team, Air Force, Army, Navy, whatever. It's just a tough offense to guard in general because you gotta really be disciplined with your gap play. And when they have all these different athletes on the field, even their quarterback is running people over, it is tough to guard it and it's tough to play. So Kutztown's going to have to come with a really good defensive strategy to win this game.
Let's talk about that Kutztown team as we go ahead.
Shout out to the big boys too. You don't run for 6,000 yards.
Led by Kobe Williams, the center for that squad we had on the program very recently. Shout out.
Yeah, you got to have some absolute units to run for 6,000 yards.
Also, shout out, I don't know his name, number 51 on Harding. He had a touch. He had a block for a touchdown. He blocked two guys on one play on one of the highlights. I did see.
Dude, that is awesome.
He blocked two guys. He led him it was a reverse touchdown. I saw that. So shout out number 51.
That is sick. I definitely have to go back and watch that. But let's talk about this Kutztown team. Their first ever matchup versus Frostburg State, another squad in Frostburg that has opened a lot of eyes. The Golden Bears back in the semis for a second time in the last 3 seasons. This time they're hosting. When was the last time a Super Region 1 team did that? Well, Judd Novak and I talked about that a bit in the conversation, fellas. And I do want to show you, Judd might be making a case, of course, for the Harlan Hill, but how about the Heisman as well? First quarter here, Novak pulls it in the backfield, waltzes in. You can see the thinking, and bang.
Oh, that's hard.
Bang.
Oh, that's hard.
In the back of the end zone. That's thing
tough.
Gets going early and often. That, of course, being this Golden Bear offense with Judd Novak fooled everyone. Talk about a dual threat quarterback. This guy is about as much of a definition textbook as you can get in all Division II football. A couple good clips here from Jordan Gillis. Shout out him on Twitter here. A couple big plays from this one. You see Frostburg does get on the board. Physicality was showing early. They responded to that Novak score, but Kutztown ended up separating in the second half and pull away for the victory in this one, fellas. 51-29 over Frostburg State, and they will advance to the semifinals and host, which we'll talk about, of course, in a minute.
Yeah, man, Kutztown, they're really good on all fronts, defensively and offensively. I think they do match up pretty well with this Harding team. I really think they are, like I said, good on all 3 fronts. Judd Novak is their playmaker. Harding's got to find a way to contain him, and that was probably one of the coolest videos I've seen all season. Was that Heisman?
Here we go.
That is so tough, and I feel like that's like all of our dreams is to have that moment right there. But that's cool, and I do think this team matches up well with Harding, and they took it to him.
They definitely did. Kutztown never trailed in this one. Here's a pic from our good friend Chuck Bittner at d2football.com. That's the team photo celebrating the victory there for this Kutztown team that has represented the PSAC very well on the national stage. And they've done it the last couple of years, man. This is a powerhouse down there in Pennsylvania, no matter who's been a part of it. This team, just the latest iteration, and dare I say, potentially the most talented that we've seen in a while from this Golden Bears side.
Yeah, and shout out Freddie Redder, 2.5 sacks.
Oh, yeah.
Big day. Lauren Short, 2 sacks there. getting after the quarterback, that obviously helps. But yeah, talk about Novak a little bit. We talk about efficiency. 11 of let me make sure. 11 of 16. He's practically shooting 75% there. 3 touchdowns through the air, 1 on the ground, obviously with the Heisman pose. Very efficient football is going to win games every single time. So he's going to need to be efficient again when he's going up against the Bison. This is going to be a clash of the Titans, in my opinion. I think this is two really good teams going at it.
Semifinal football.
Yeah, and personally, it's just, I know we're about to get into why the seeding is the seeding, but Ferris is going to be waiting on the other side. A little spoiler right there. So this should be very interesting to see who wins this game.
And you talk about Redder. He has had multiple sacks in each of KU's 3 playoff wins to this point. Talk about turning it on at the right time.
It's like prime Hutch when we were going on that little run.
It is. The big drama, of course, recently has been coming out, of course, pertains to the seeding. How is Kutztown hosting this weekend? That is the question that a lot of people have asked, and I thought they did a very good job of explaining it on Inside D2 Football, the D2Football.com show on YouTube and X. Catch those guys whenever. But it all comes down to KPI. And we're trying to explain at least a little bit of the usage of KPI to the dismay of the Harding fans. It all comes down to the computer. It's an algorithm, and that's how this thing gets broken down. And I got a graphic here that shows the KPI kind of rankings, fellas, and how that pans out. This, of course, is the metric, if you can't tell, that is used to determine who would be hosting in these different situations. John Dykstra, kudos to him for giving us this deal right here. Here you have the KPI ratings of these teams, fellas. Those top 4, of course, the ones we're looking at. Ferris State, Kutztown, Harding, and, Newberry as you get down into that number 5 spot after Albany State. That is the criteria used to host. And you'll see from 0.454 to 0.448, there is a drop-off to 0.425 that, from my understanding, is pretty substantial when it comes to this index and this algorithm. That's a pretty substantial drop from the first 2 downward. And so is it to say that Harding is not a deserving football team? Absolutely not. Censor myself here, but it is to say that Kutztown has done it in the eyes of this algorithm. They have earned the right to host this football game. This KPI index takes all of your losses and your wins. For both these teams, it is actually, there's no losses because they're 2 of the only undefeated teams left in D2 football, but it takes all your wins and it rates them on you get like a certain point percentage for that win. It factors in your strength of schedule and some other deals about opponents that you've played over the course of the season. And at the end of the day, it spits out a number. Kutztown's number that it spat out is higher than Harding's number. That is the very short version of why Kutztown is hosting this weekend. And if you remember, guys, just a couple years ago, this is a Kutztown team and an athletic administration that didn't even put in the required paperwork to host, and they had to travel to Slippery Rock. If you remember talking about that, Drew, I think.
Yeah, I do remember talking about that.
Nuts. And I know the part of the conversation has revolved around, like here, Randy makes a good point. He says, not sure how Kutztown was given the higher seed over Harding when Kutztown only played 1 ranked team all season, and that team was ranked number 24. Harding, on the other hand, played 3 highly ranked teams the last 3 weeks. By the way, I'm unbiased since my son plays for Pitt State. Shout out to you, Randy. Love people that are passionate about D2 football, but, that is a big part of the conversation and the question, and some people had brought up the case of, well, Harding should schedule more out of conference. The GAC doesn't really allow for a lot of that, and then I saw another really good point on Twitter. Who the hell is scheduling Harding out of conference?
Well, I'm pretty sure Randy's wrong because unless the Wonder Boys were ranked their last week, they didn't play.
3 weeks of playoffs.
Oh, okay. Just making sure. Never mind. But no, I mean,
get out of here.
No, shout out. I do think this is a big glorified word for strength of record. But it does sound like Harding has a better strength of record. So it's weird in that sense. I don't know. I mean, I feel like
this is Harding's first single-digit win, I believe, in the year. I think I'll go back and double-check it, but I think so.
Kobe, we talked about it last week. Why in the Final Four, let's do neutral sites. Like, let's make this fun. Let's make this interesting.
That would be sweet.
Find a school where it's equally distant apart. Yeah, no, I know. But we got shit like NIL these days. We can pay for that.
Okay. Here's a good question. If we're talking Harding, we're talking Andrew Miller, Cole Keelan, that gritty, tough Harding Bisons group. What's the ideal company? We're going off script then. What's the ideal company that comes in and coughs up some cash for these guys for an NIL deal? What do you think fits the Bisons over there?
Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yeah,
okay. That's solid. I was going like Ram Truck.
That would be another one.
But
yeah.
B-Dubs? How about B-Dubs? Big order of B-Dubs with that new mascot guy they got in the bed of said Ram.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking of the mascot guy. I thought, yeah, who's in the commercial with him? But he's just like chilling there eating wings.
Kelsey.
It is Kelsey.
God, he's got to get off TV. On another note, speaking of his brother, that was fantastic to watch them collapse yesterday.
Oh, the Chiefs dynasty, you've been praying on it?
Yeah. That was nice.
But no, speaking of the Bison, if you were
Bisons,
to then go
plural, makes not a whole lot of sense, but Bisons.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, geez, you learn something every day. Okay, like I think this is going to be whose superpower can necessarily overtake the other one, if that makes sense, right? Like,
okay,
this is like fire and water going at it. Like, it's just like
who's who? Because there's a very obvious winner in that equation.
I don't know. I mean, this is interesting. This is a very good game.
I'm very excited. I'm very excited for it. Talk about that defensive line group for Kutztown, what they've been able to accomplish the last couple of weeks, man. I'm pumped for all these matchups, and we got some really good ones on deck, fellas. The Final Four in Division II football, just a few more weeks of D2 football, talking about some fantastic action and some great matchups. Here is your look at the Final Four teams in the country. 3 of them being the only undefeated teams left in D2 football: Ferris, Harding, Kutztown, and then the dark horse, the Wolves in Newberry, who round out that top 4, gentlemen.
Oh, this is tough. This is
big
tough.
Time. We shall see, but a lot of big-time games. Well, only 2 of them.
Hang on. I'm going to check the Massey ratings, see what they got for...
Okay, for lines? Yeah, I didn't put the spread in here or anything.
Yeah, let me get there.
Yeah, let me know what that says. I'm going to go ahead and I would assume Harding and Ferris are favored. I would give Ferris probably 12.5. I don't think that's ridiculous to say at home this time of the year.
I'd say 14.
I think that's fair.
I think, again, would you favor Harding on the road? That becomes a bigger question. I think Harding still might get like 3.5, 4, 5 points in that range.
Yeah.
You think Harding's projected by 3?
Who knows? I'm also just trying to stall and pull it up and give my best guess.
Yeah.
Hopefully nobody punts from the 29-yard line.
All right. Wow. Ferris, according to the Massey ratings, Ferris 48, Newberry 14.
Whoa.
That's a big yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I'll
take the dogs to win. I'm taking Newberry to cover that personally.
Okay, fair. What about the other matchup there?
Harding 31, Kutztown 7.
Dude,
my bad. I'm sorry. 24 by 7. I should have said. My bad.
Okay.
Wait. Repeat the score. 31-24.
31 Harding 31, Kutztown 24.
I can see that. That's like a legit. That makes a lot more sense. Massey is big on the dogs. Coaching East and the dogs over there. Holy cow!
And you know what? I got it. I'm going Kutztown outright. It's going to be Kutztown and Ferris in the national championship. That's my bold prediction. Shout out to the Wonder Boys that picks for you guys. No, I'm kidding.
I love it, dude. I'm excited. Thank you, fellas. I appreciate you. Joining the show tonight from one of the hottest teams and, dare I say, one of the hottest families in all of Division III athletics. It's the quarterback from the quarterfinal bound, John Carroll Blue Streaks, the man himself, Nick Semptimphelter. What's going on, brother? How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Excited to get you on here for a myriad of reasons, I think some would say. The most notable of which being the game, of course, that we'll talk about at length on this program. But what a week for you and the fam, dude. Like an absolutely electric weekend. Your sister has an unreal performance on Friday. You got to go and try and one-up her on Saturday. Is that kind of how it went down?
I guess she had I got to watch her game on the bus driving
Okay.
down to Mount Union, and yeah, I mean, once I saw she had a great game, I was like, oh geez, I guess the pressure's on now. We got to go and get a win.
That is amazing, man. I mean, 37 points, 9 threes. She sets a single game 3-point record down there for the women's basketball program, and then you come out just a day later and lead this team. And again, we'll talk a lot about it. Maybe not an offensive coordinator's dream, but back to back like that is pretty exciting, man. You and her both came to John Carroll prior to last season, correct?
Last year was both our first year. We
Yep.
transferred in here. Mhm.
That's awesome, man. What went into that decision?
So for me, when I graduated from Bucknell University, I had 2
Yep.
years of eligibility. I had my COVID, and then I had a medical red shirt. So I was looking for somewhere with a master's program. I'm getting my MBA here at John Carroll, and
Awesome.
then I was looking to continue to play ball. And Gracie decided to transfer. She's a transfer from Ohio Wesleyan, and she was going into her junior year, and it kind of just matched up perfectly that we could end up at the same school together.
That is incredible, dude. And you were telling me just before we got going that there's another one, might not have the Semptimphelter last name, but another one of that house that has obviously become a big part of this football program, your tight end, man. Rawls comes in from over there in Alabama, and all three of you guys, before the same season, decide, hey, let's have a big old reunion and all meet up at John Carroll. That just, like, all jokes aside, has to be a very special thing for your parents to have you guys all under the same roof for a long time, is my understanding. And then to be playing with Kenny again is got to be an incredible deal. And also to have, I mean, your sister on campus. Talk about that, man. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. It's been a great experience. We all live together, like you said. My parents actually have their own room in our house up here in Cleveland. So when they come up, they stay with us,
That
and
is awesome.
they're here pretty much every weekend. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So we're all three here together, and yeah, it's been a great experience so far, and we're in year two of it. So wouldn't trade it for the world. It's been awesome having them here up here with me.
I believe that. So you got to play with Kenny in high school then too, you said.
Yeah, he was actually my tackle in high school, which is
Okay.
funny. So he played tackle in high school, and then when he went to North Alabama, he moved to tight end, which is kind of like the opposite of what usually happens. So
Yes.
he played tackle. He's my right tackle in high school, and then he transitioned to tight end, and he's still playing tight end here at John Carroll.
Yeah, a lot of people think they're athletic enough and then end up being told at the next level, hey, pal, why don't you go ahead and put 50 pounds on for me, lose the gloves, because we're getting you on the end of the line of scrimmage. Not usually the other way. Don't see that happening. He obviously is a unicorn and has been a big piece of that offensive game for you guys. But let's talk about this Blue Streaks, man. Monster win over Mount Union. I'm sure I'm not the first to say it. I won't be the last because of how phenomenal it was for you guys. Safe to say this team is not ducking anyone in 2025. You might not have spent your whole career at John Carroll. You talk about your experience at Bucknell, but speak from your perspective still of being a crucial part of this team. What did that win mean for you and for this program, man?
Oh, it meant a lot. It meant a lot. There's a lot of different emotions that went into the game. The first one being we lost there last year at their place, and then the second, I mean, we left the OAC, we went to the NCAC, so there's a lot of chatter about why we left the OAC, and even we couldn't really avoid that. We saw it on social media and stuff like that. So it meant a lot to this program, and a lot to the players that we got to go back to Mount Union and have a chance to win in the playoffs. And just the emotion after the game. I mean, you could see it in the alumni. I mean, we had a lot of proud people to be Blue Streaks yesterday.
100%, man. And it was fun to watch. I got to tune into probably the second half of that one. And, again, wasn't a fireworks show that maybe some were expecting in terms of an offensive shootout. But you said it, the whole, leaving the conference and the outside perception of people outside of that locker room and outside of that campus. Do they realize that it's not just this team going into a room and voting on whether or not they should leave the conference? Like, again, that's not a real question. Don't answer that. But some of these people, man, they just do not understand how higher education works and so many other reasons why maybe moving an athletic conference is good news for a certain institution. But we're talking about this team, man, and the double overtime win. 10 points from you guys, not exactly an offensive coordinator's dream. But what do you feel like you guys did very well on Saturday from an offensive standpoint?
No, I think we did move the ball well. Like you said, I mean, the scoreboard, I mean, 10 points is definitely not an offensive coordinator or a quarterback's dream
Sure.
in any regard. But, at the end of the day, I think we were resilient. And I mean, the first overtime, we blocked the field goal and we feel like the game's in our hands, and then we missed the field goal. And it was one of those things that as a leader on the team, you could look back and say, all right, that's where we lost it. That's where, we crumbled because we couldn't battle adversity and find a way to bounce back. But that second overtime, we just found a way. We kept finding ways to lean on each other, and the defense did a great job. I mean, we didn't have our best day on offense, but the defense, I mean, they have a great quarterback at Mount Union, great offense, and they did a great job containing him and the whole offense. So, it was just a whole team effort. It was a lot of fun.
Well said, my friend. Let's talk about that overtime. Schuler, he misses, like you said, what would have been the game winner. In that moment, never been a kicker in my life, never claimed to be, can only imagine. That is suffocating. He shows some real gumption, though, some real mental fortitude, if you will, comes out in that double OT and knocks it through. But take me back to the first OT. He misses that one that would have put the game away. Is that a moment where you have a conversation with him, or do you focus just on giving him another opportunity to make it count in that second overtime? How does that go?
Yeah, I didn't say anything. I mean, it's one of those things, and our head coach, Coach Behrman, he preaches it. I mean, he was just preaching next play. That's kind of the mindset we had all week. So when he missed it, I told the guys, all right, we had to go back on offense after he missed
Yeah.
it because they got the ball first in overtime. So we had to go first and second overtime. So I was like, all right, let's go. We got to go find a way to win. So we went back on the field, and then he drilled a 40-yarder. So, I mean, we had complete trust in him.
Yeah.
He didn't flinch. I mean, a lot of guys could have crumbled in that moment. He didn't flinch, and he drilled the game winner for us.
That is massive. And again, your reactions, they say it all. Terrible day for kickers in that one. It's safe to say, obviously, conditions or just getting through and getting a mitt on the ball happened on both sides. So we'll definitely let him cut him some slack here because he did hit that game winner for you guys. That was massive. Now, to start this game, the most ridiculous stat of the day, and I didn't see this one live, but Mount Union, they score on the very first play from scrimmage. You're on the sideline. Are you thinking to yourself, hey, we might have a shootout on our hands? And how did that game change and evolve over the course of those 4 quarters?
Yeah, definitely. We got the ball first. I think we got to about midfield, and that's where our drive stalled, and we punted, and I sat down, and I was looking on the iPad, looking at the drive, and then I looked up and I saw they had their receiver running the score. So it was one of those things. It's like, again, like I said earlier, we've been preaching all week, next play. So I told the offense we got to go up and we got to make something happen. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I definitely expected a shootout. I expected us to put points on the board, and they're a good offense, same thing, but just kind of how the game unfolded. And, I told the guys too, like, as long as we have one more point than they do, it doesn't really matter how it happens.
Yeah, a lot of resilience from that side. And you mentioned it. You guys moved the ball pretty damn well. The scoreboard does not reflect that. 2 fumbles in the first half, stalling out some of those drives are hard things to overcome. But the good teams do that. They do that on the road, and they do that in some really hostile environments down there in Alliance, Ohio. And for you, again, still a lot of offensive production, which could be very deceiving if you just look at a box score or kind of look at the final score. Tyron, he breaks the single-season receiving yardage record, and he's one that I've been able to watch over the course of this season. And a guy that I think I was showing someone as I was watching this game on Saturday, showed him make one of those grabs, and the immediate reaction, I'm sure it's not the first time you've heard this, is from my buddy. He says, how the hell is he playing Division III football? And I said, that's a great question, because you look at this guy. He does not look the part of your prototypical D3 player. You and I know they're riddled across the country with guys like that at this level, especially in this type of playoff games. But what can you tell me about your top target and that ball player, as well as the rest of what has really become a talented wide receiver core down there?
Oh, he's awesome. I mean, he's awesome. He's electric. He's super athletic. He's a great receiver. It's been great because he transferred in as well with me. So it's been a lot of fun to have these 2 seasons with him. And he's getting better and better. He's only played football for, I think this is his 4th season playing football. A lot of people don't know that about him. He didn't play in high school at all, which is just crazy to think about. How good he is and how explosive he is. And then the other receivers, I mean, they did a great job. Shane Lindstrom had a great day yesterday. He had like 10 catches for 140 yards. I mean, it's been a lot of fun getting to play with him as well and building that chemistry because he's a transfer as well. So, I mean, our receiving core, we have, they do a lot in the run game as well, blocking. So it's been a lot of fun watching them as the season has progressed, get better and better and kind of dig deeper into their roles to help this team win.
I love that for you. And like you said, big days across the board for this offense. Now, you guys, you got back to campus to quite the reception. It looked like, at least from what I could see on social media. How special was that in being able to celebrate this one with the fellas?
Oh, it was awesome. It was so cool having those people, waiting on us at campus. And like I said, it was a great day to be a Blue Streak, and we had a lot of proud alumni. So it was super cool to see.
How it's probably tough in the moment because obviously you're going to turn the page here. We'll talk about your next matchup, but is it difficult to celebrate in those moments, or pretty easy? You get a night's rest and then, hey, let's turn the page and think about this Barry Viking squad?
Yeah, being in the playoffs, I mean, you're right. You gotta celebrate for a little bit, and then you gotta turn the page. We've gotten film Barry today, so I've kind of already turned the page mentally, and
Okay.
I think that's a sign of a good football team of being able to turn the page when you have emotional games like that. And with our leadership with Coach Behrman, I mean, he's going to be preaching that hard. So we're excited to have another week of football together, and we're excited for the next challenge.
Hell yeah. What do you know about the Vikings? How do you continue to win on the road, man? Question of the year.
Yeah, they're good. They're a great football team. They play in a tough conference, SAA. They have a great defense. Haven't watched a ton of them yet, but so far from what I've seen, they're good. They're stout. They do a lot on defense, so I'm excited for the challenge.
Hell yeah. What do people need to know about this JCU team? That they at this point in the game, you got a lot of teams who are sitting on their couch watching, a lot of parents, friends, family, whatever. They're going to be watching D3 football. Hopefully they get the itch on Saturday. They tune into this John Carroll squad. What do they need to know about Blue Streaks?
I think we're resilient. We've battled adversity all year, and we've gone through the ups, gone through the downs, and we found a way to lean on each other and find a way to win football games. So I think that's the biggest thing. That's what I'm most proud about this team, is how resilient we are and how we've battled adversity and found wins.
Especially for a group, like you say, we go down this list, a lot of guys who have transferred in and been added to this program maybe after the fact, right? And not to say that this team hasn't recruited well at the high school level, but to supplement that with what seems to be a pretty core nucleus of big-time players that have supplemented from the transfer portal and started to build that camaraderie, that's not the usual, right? To have that balance and to have a group that stays committed, that you can add out of the portal, and guys like you that can really invest in this thing. So excited to watch this weekend, man. This has been a really fun group, and can't wait to see how you do Saturday.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Let's start off our D3 football recap with, it's pretty easy to say, this was the biggest game in all of D3 football this weekend, fellas. That being John Carroll, the Blue Streaks. They go down. They beat Mount Union for the first time ever in the playoffs, the first time at all since 2016. And the conversation had the quarterback, Nick Semptimphelter, on the program tonight. And the conversation has always been, all those Blue Streaks, I don't want to say always, but this year it's been, you're getting out of the conference, you're ducking Mount Union, you don't want to go through Alliance, Ohio. Well, guess what? They beat them. They beat them on the road. And it definitely came down to it. Double overtime. Got to watch the second half of this one. But what an incredible game and an incredible finish for this JCU squad.
Yeah, I mean, just an absolute brick wall on 4th and 2 on the 5-yard line in overtime. And that was a huge decision by Mount Union to not kick the field goal and just tie it up there at the end. But, I mean, wow. I mean, absolutely remarkable play by that defense there. And not to mention the kicker. It's kind of overlooked. Like, the kicker misses it in their first overtime, and then he goes out there and hits one. So, yep. I mean, talk about resilience from that kid.
Kicking was tough for both sides.
Yeah.
We see right there, field goal earlier on by the Purple Raiders, blocked. And the kicking department, not the best game. If you're a specialist watching this one, might want to close your eyes because that was not the best game to watch out of this entire slate. Mount Union, they score in their first play. They were quiet for basically the rest of the game. That offense, with as talented of an offensive backfield and skill positions as they have, this JCU team, you see it right there, stuff them when it matters in double overtime. They go for that quarterback draw kind of QB run type play to get that short yardage. They had reverted to that a couple of times throughout the course of the day. That time, not good enough. The Blue Streaks are moving on 10-7 in double overtime. You see the boys in the locker room there. A ridiculous finish. Boys, don't worry. I've got a million different angles of that final stop in double overtime. Like you said, for those who didn't watch, that kicker from John Carroll Schuler, he's got a chance to ice this thing in the first OT period. That one doesn't go. JCU come back out. They earn him another opportunity. Kicks that one, makes it, and it all comes down to the defense of this Blue Streak squad on the road. Everyone talks about that defense travels in playoff situations. Here's the wide view from the fan perspective of that final stop, fellas. QB run up the front, needed 2 yards for the first down, could have gotten into the end zone, neither of which happens. Blue Streaks storm the field and go down probably one of the most historic wins in this program's history?
So,
First of all, you got to shout out to this family, the Semptimphelter family, though. Shout out to the graphic that you put out. That was so incredible.
Isn't that awesome? Isn't that insane?
I believe it.
So
It's
nuts.
insane. It's insane. Like the family dynamic. I bet the Thanksgiving Bowl probably that they got going on, like the one-on-one hoops that they probably play, is probably insane.
Yeah, true.
But I think everyone was probably thinking, right? You're probably thinking the same thing, right? Including me. You left the Ohio League to go to the NCAC, and where did that lead you? Right back to Mount Union. And guess what? They whooped that ass. They whooped that ass. And here's what I will say also. I think it's important to note, Mikey Maloney, freshman. I think we may have just created a monster.
Correct.
And so potentially get ready to see the next 3 to 4 or 3 national titles going to Mount Union potentially for this sake alone. But all jokes aside, what a win for John Carroll. I want to highlight the defensive coordinator for John Carroll, Dean Paul, because this is the lowest scoring output for a Mount Union offense since December of 2003. And it's the first time the Raiders have been held to 7 points at home since 1986.
Come on.
You know what else happened in 1986? The Space Shuttle Challenger disaster. And so Mount Union may see this as a disaster, but I think it's better to highlight the job that this John Carroll coaching staff and players have done to
That
get
took
here.
a turn for the worst about halfway through there, but I see the connection. I don't know how to rip off that one, but Jimmy, you mentioned it earlier with the kicker, the mental fortitude. How about let's hear from the head coach about Colin Schur and what he had to overcome, of course, to put that one through in the double OT.
I mean, he's mentally tough. That's what you got to be, mentally tough in life. You got to be mentally tough in a football game. You're a kicker. You got to be mentally tough, and that's what he did. He went out there and he did his job. He did what he had to do, and he went on to the next play. That's all we talked about. Next play, next play, next play. He went on to his next play. That's what he had to do.
What were your nerves like throughout this game? Because
calm. I total trust and belief in this team, these players and these coaches. Total trust.
And your view of point of Kenny Grobelsick with that hit stick.
Unbelievable. I mean, he squared it up. I mean, it couldn't have been any better. And listen, he's been doing that all year. So, I'm really, really happy for him as well.
You came back to your alma mater, and folks, this has been such a tough hurdle for any team in Division III to get over. And this moment, I mean, is this kind of what you dreamed of coming back here for a moment?
Yeah, absolutely. This is we've always felt like this is a top 10 program in the country at Division III, and it needs to be there year in and year out. And these guys have bought in. They have worked their tails off, day in and day out. They go through our process, and they earn this. This was a major earn right here.
And
some strong words from Coach there. Talk about coming back to the alma mater and leading something really incredible. And like he said, this is supposed to be a top 10 program in Division III football. It may have not been the case in recent history. He's saying expect that from here on out from the Blue Streaks, the squad they've got down there in Ohio. And some really strong words and a tough thing to do from any perspective, especially a kicker going in double OT when you just missed one and got to put this thing through. Just phenomenal matchup. Any other words on this Blue Streaks team?
Hey, go get the next one. Go get the next one. 24-hour rule. You're on to the next one.
4 heading into next week's matchup against Barry. And, that Barry team we'll talk about here just in a little bit. It's actually the first team out of conference they'll end up playing in this playoff run of theirs. But
yeah, that's
let's
crazy.
move forward
That's bizarre.
and talk about this, what I think is safe to say, call a dark horse team right now, the Thunder from Wheaton, man. They're still rolling. 49-24 win over DePaul. They proved last week not a fluke for Fukuchi in this squad, man.
Yeah, Mark shows us every week why he's one of the best quarterbacks in Division III. I mean, he delivered time and time again. He was really efficient last week, but he didn't really throw any touchdowns or anything. But this week, obviously, he threw 4. He had a monster game. And this is the DePaul team that just won at Whitewater. This is a statement victory for Wheaton. And they have their hands full next week as 15-point underdogs against River Falls. But I wouldn't count them out. I think this is going to be closer than 15 points. I think Wheaton's going to give River Falls the best game they've had in a while, but I have a hard time thinking that River Falls won't win this game, but I won't count Wheaton out. I won't do it.
Thunder going to the national quarterfinals for the first time in 6 years, boys. That is a massive win over a DePaul team that has impressed a lot inside of that region. And again, Wheaton continue to prove a lot of people wrong. They're proving the people in that building right. We got some flicks here from the game on Saturday. Pretty solid uni matchup, if I do say so myself.
Oh yeah, this is a Big Ten type of uni matchup for sure.
Crisp.
And absolutely, I mean, what a win for the Thunder. You know, they had to play, right? A play-in type game, if we want to call it that, in the first round. Right? Nothing short of remarkable. And, you know, I've been kind of saying it a little bit. Like, I think that Wheaton was maybe the best 2-loss team in the country. You know, obviously, you know, you're outshined by North Central most of your, you know, conference schedule, and, you know, you lose the early one to Mount Union. But I think, like, with the two loss teams that were left, they're the only one left, I believe, right now. And those teams in Wisconsin are now done. But I think, man, I think the weather certainly has played a part in both of these teams, DePaul and Wheaton, as far as how they've gotten here in the playoffs. But nonetheless, like Jimmy said, this was a statement win for the Thunder.
It definitely was. I got to watch the first half of this one, guys. I don't get to watch all the games, but I kind of pick and choose, and this was on my top of my list in terms of across the divisions. I knew this was going to be exciting. The first half, it was deep ball after deep ball, explosive play after explosive play. We've come to expect that from both these teams, especially a week after Wheaton played in some of the toughest conditions that we've seen all season long. Knew maybe they'd like to get back to airing it out for Cucci and company. And obviously, we know all about the Valentine brothers, the offense from this DePaul team. This is about as exciting of a football game as it could have gotten through the first 2 quarters. And I do have to shout out the man, Chandler Bryant, the defensive lineman from Wheaton. He's 5'10", 260 pounds. Defensive end from Wheaton comes through, punches this thing out. Bryant scoops it, goes like 50, 60 yards the other day, rumbling, stumbling, big man touchdown. I got up off the couch. I was pumped for this guy. Never met him in my life. Absolutely was pumped up about that play in this Wheaton squad. But that first half of football was genuinely probably some of the most exciting football I've seen at the Division III level all year. And, defenses settled in maybe a little bit after the first half, but this Wheaton offense was all over the place. They could not be contained, and the defense for this Wheaton squad showed up in the second half. So a lot of very good things for this Thunder team, moving forward.
Yeah, I won't even talk about next week. I don't want to talk about it yet. I'm not going to take any sort of rat poison. I'm not taking any of that. I'm not going to say we're just going to roll them, but yeah, I'm excited for the Thunder to come to town.
I definitely would be as well. And we talked about Barry just a little bit earlier. They seal it with a late interception to win over Trinity 31-23. And fellas, this is back-to-back weeks now. The Vikings have played conference foes in the playoffs. Of course, a week prior, it was against LaGrange, this time versus Trinity out of Texas in the SAA. And now they've got their first non-conference playoff matchup going into the third round. But what can you tell me about this win this week?
I think this game really came down to who was better up front. And I know that, Trinity definitely likes to play, that air raid type of style, I guess I'll call it. I know it's not probably exactly that, but Barry holds Trinity to just 69 yards of offense. Like I said, not typically how Trinity likes to play. But then when you look on the other side, Barry runs for $197 and 2 tuds. I think they absolutely dominated this game up front. Here's what I'll say, about this Barry team. I don't think everybody's been focused on this side of the bracket. I think a lot of people have said,
fair,
hey, that Mount Union's on that side, right? Let's focus on the North Central side. Let's focus on, the Wartburg, River Falls side, even the East Coast side. And guess what? This Barry team just keeps freaking winning. They're not necessarily in the spotlight, but they are hungry. And I think that is exactly how Coach Konchesky wants this thing down there in Rome, Georgia.
I would agree, man. And look at this game here. I had this on for a little bit of the first half, and just when you thought Barry was going to go down and score, they end up turning that thing over. Trinity going the other way. They start getting some momentum, and then peanut punch that thing, balls in the ground, football is back in the hands of the Vikings. Offenses couldn't necessarily get going in the first quarter. Second quarter, Vikings separate themselves, 22-0 run in the second quarter. And I'll tell you, man, I turned this game off because it honestly got out of hand. Now, did I think Trinity would probably come back and make the score look a little bit more interesting? Yes, and that certainly was the case, 31-23. It came down to that interception late to technically seal the deal, right, because Trinity fought their way back into this thing. You're talking about a game at halftime that was 22-0. And respectfully, again, there's a lot of other games on. I turned it off. I tuned out. Should I have probably maybe check back in later on? Yeah, but there was some other really good football on, and admittedly, I didn't come back to it, fellas. But this Barry team has definitely shown the ability to get up and use that momentum. And the fact that they've beaten 2 conference foes at this point in the tournament, I actually think is pretty impressive, because these are teams that have a lot of film on you, and they totally understand what you do offensively, defensively, all 3 phases of the game. Now, that can be said, the opposite is also true, because you can study on an opponent that you've already seen, but it's really difficult to get those repeat matchups. Barry has done a very good job of that, and like I said, the second quarter for the Vikings, that was the difference maker. That was the separator in this one, and they did it in all phases, man.
Like you said, I mean, it's really hard to beat a good team once. It's really, really hard, I guess we'll say, to beat a good team 2 times. So, nonetheless, like you said, this is an impressive feat, to say the least.
Yeah, and it was the defense really that stepped up. Not to say the offense had a terrible day, but you're talking about Christian Lewis, 11 for 23, 140, a touchdown and a pick, who was semi-efficient. I mean, it's probably not even the right word for that. A lot of balls that he'd probably like to have back, but it was this defense that stepped up. Chaz Pope with an interception, of course, to kind of seal the deal, but then Chris Lewis with 2 fumble recoveries on the day. That's a difference maker in a big-time performance at a stage that this team is not necessarily familiar with in recent history. So those, to me, are the 2 big difference makers defensively for this Barry team, and they had a pretty split rushing attack as well. That was part of that victory, but defensively, that's where they step up, and that's how they keep this thing rolling. But let's talk about what might be the hottest team, Seth, in all of Division III football, and a team that, as they continue to go, are changing the minds of some folk on who truly has the best chance at a Stag Bowl in 2025. River Falls is absolutely rolling. Offensively, defensively, playing some of the most complimentary football that we've seen from them all year. We've come a long way from that loss to the Titans, a wake-up call, and this team looks dangerous. 42-14 win over St. John's with a backflip to boot that I'll pick up here in just a sec.
I'll let Seth take most of this one, obviously, but if you guys go back and watch the show last week, I called this one a mile away. This was it was a lopsided match.
Yeah, but
just really, really good, and I expected them to win like this. You can go back and look. Rat poison, whatever you want to call it, but River Falls is really, really, really good. They're really good, and I'm saying that as a guy that went to Stout. Got to pay my respects. They're really good. So I'm a football analyst. I got to call it how it is.
Here's the aforementioned flip and flick. Phenomenal. Phenomenal final score graphic. Need the boys down there in the end zone with some scorecards like they do for the gymnastics kind of competition type deal. Straight 10s across the board for that.
Yeah, Jalen, he definitely should not do that shit again with the 15-yarder, but we love it to say the least. That dude is an absolutely dynamic playmaker. He actually went out early with a little bit of an injury, and then he came back with I feel like it was like an 80-yard touchdown.
Yeah, he's good.
He's so good. He's so good. But yeah, I mean, I was at this one. Wasn't going to miss this thing, and you never want to get your hopes up, right? As far as a fan and dive into the rat poison per se, but I need to publicly say it again. Jake Wissing and Joe Matheson are the 2 best coordinators in the entire country. St. John's actually, and this is, getting into the weeds a little bit, but they came out an entirely new defense. They thought they were going to be in a 4-down. Turns out they were in a 3-down the entire game. Guess what? Offensive coaches out there, Coach Kaiser, as well as obviously Coach Matheson, Coach Walker as well, helps out with the offense. Didn't flinch. Right? Didn't flinch. I think it was an absolute masterclass as well in defensive coordinating by Jake Wissing. I mean, the 7-up stuff that they're doing, the 7-up and bringing the house, but then complimenting with bailing out of there. It's just incredible, man. And then the last thing I'll say here is Caleb. He had one of the most incredible drives, and it was probably a small one. And he threw that pick early, right? And they gave him basically 7 points right off the gate. And then that dude was he was surgical. He was precise. And he continues to play his best football. And so I've been waiting to say this, and I'm going to officially say it now, but Caleb Blaha needs to win the Ghilardi Trophy.
Yeah.
That is just what needs to happen.
The general sentiment around the landscape, and I know you got 2 guys on the show
you
now
would think,
having,
right?
now met him and things that aren't going to give you much opposition there.
Right. And you don't want to discredit, right, what Monty Quinn did, what the Wheaton kid has done, by any means, all these guys. But Caleb's the best player in the country, and I don't think it's close. And maybe it's not necessarily like a hot take, I guess.
Yeah.
But just, I mean,
but let's put you on record. You know,
he should win that award. Right. He should win that award. And if he doesn't, then I probably will riot. So.
And I'm curious, you know, I watched a good bit of this one, especially again in the first half. And again, River Falls goes up, and we're talking 28-7 ball game. And Kobe, Fairweather fan over here, tunes out to watch. My thought process is let me go watch the most competitive football game right now. And I am curious, though, right before end of the third quarter there, Dylan Wheeler, dog, we've got to meet him and talk about him and this team, of course. He scores to make this a 2-score game before the third quarter is up. What was sense in that building?
Right.
Obviously, River Falls had their way with the Johnnies for the most of the first half, really. But they scored to cut that thing to 2 scores, and the offense is apparently moving the ball a little bit here. What was the feel in that building, and how quickly did UWRF come out and respond?
You know, here's the thing about that. Like, other than the 7 points that they got off the almost nearly pick 6, basically a pick to the 2-yard line, and that one drive, they couldn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Feeney, like, great job. I mean, good season, but like that dude couldn't find anybody. I mean, Wheeler, incredible, absolutely phenomenal player. But I didn't get the sense that like any worried. But then you got that 40-yard bomb to Jalen Reed, which ended up in the backflip. I mean, like, I guess that took the wind out of their sails even completely. Honestly, now that I'm looking at the box score here, like, I didn't even realize it was a 2-score game. That's how we felt in the stands. Like, we just felt like we had total control of the game the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, that first touchdown, you talk about it. Not to say it was a fluke, but it was immediate, and it was so far removed from your memory because between that touchdown to start the game, really, right, at the very beginning, all the way to that point where Wheeler scores that one, everything in between had been Falcon dominance, and it felt like defensively, like you said, I mean, Coach Wiss and company, they could kind of do whatever they want. They were absolutely rolling.
They lead the country in takeaways, man. Like, that is what they do. And I don't think, like, Coach Wiss gets nearly enough credit. Like, he is just such a phenomenal football coach. And the first thing he said to me is like, don't even talk about us. Don't even talk about us this week. Don't talk about us.
Yeah.
But I'm going to talk about you, Coach. You're a freaking dog.
Him.
You're a freaking dog. Everybody involved there, man. Right now, like, I'm so proud to be a Falcon.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was weird how that happened. It just like totally cut out. That was wild.
Yeah, look, he's frozen. Look, Wiss is at home with like a voodoo doll or something, and he just cut the internet.
Yeah, he hijacked our Zoom call. He's in here. You can see us.
Another WIAC team, same conference, different result. UW La Crosse, they go into Naperville, take on the reigning, defending national champions. And River Falls, very much coming into the forefront of the conversation right now. North Central still has a right to be right there. They still lead the pack. They beat UW La Crosse 35-27. The second quarter, it was very one-sided in this one. One of the most athletic pick sixes I've ever seen from Roby out of that defensive backfield. Watching that live, had to rewind that. Looked like something that TJ or JJ, maybe one of the Watts brothers, would have come through and done in that situation. Granted, a little smaller, a little more athletic is Roby, and he took that thing all the other way for 6. This North Central team, still very phenomenal. That second quarter felt like the North Central that we're used to, and that they do not let off the gas. Now, credit to UW La Crosse. This is technically a 8-point, 1-score game. They scored at the very end of the game. So let's say, in all intents and purposes, Cardinals beat these guys by 14 points. Still, UW La Crosse made this interesting, I thought, in the second half, and definitely had respect for the way they showed up after what could have been a debilitating second quarter going into the break.
Yeah, they battled. You got to give them some credit, but I don't think there was anyone outside that locker room that thought North Central wasn't going to win this football game. North Central's an absolute wagon. Obviously, 21-point lead in the fourth quarter. You gotta talk about the record-setting game for Mario Rakovic, though. 4 receiving touchdowns for the Eagles. I mean, played the best game of his life in the biggest game of his life. You got to tip the cap for that guy. But North Central lead down there, guys. Well, Thomas Skonka had a day with 103 and a touchdown. He is a baller. Skonka. He's a freaking baller, dude. He's tough to stop.
He absolutely is, and that's what's crazy about it is you've got so many guys on this team that are just not only are they just box score stuffers, but they are just playmakers, I guess, in every sense and every phrase, every meaning of the word. And one of the guys that I think when you talk about this North Central team that you have to highlight is right here, Big 9-2, John Sullivan is a difference maker. He is a disruptor. He's a guy that is, you look at his headshot, fellas. I might have to throw that on the screen. Terrifying. Just an absolute scowl in the headshot on the
he's
website.
A scary guy.
That is how he plays football. Like I said, he's as disruptive and as demonstrative at the line of scrimmage as they come. He's a game breaker. I think I was really impressed by him, the way that he got himself involved in the pass game. And that is kind of saying a lot for someone at his position, but his ability to occupy multiple defenders in the front line and then have really good timing to get his hands up and get him in those passing lanes. Stellar stuff. We've seen what he's been able to do in the run game. He can get to the quarterback, which, again, at his position and at the way they use him and utilize him in this system can be, I guess, pretty surprising to say in the least, but he can get to the quarterback. He's a great run stopper, had 2 tackles behind the line of scrimmage, 1 sack, the PBU, couple quarterback hurries in this one. He's done it all year for this North Central defense and is, I would say, one of the best on this squad, man. And Roby, the 1 interception, I talk about the pick 6, he had 2 on the day. One of the best DBs in that really strong defensive backfield. So 2 takeaways for him through the air as well.
I mean, you look at that dude's headshot, you look at that dude on film, like I just think as soon as I see that guy, I'm like, man, good recruiting. Like like I'm just like, damn, it really that dude looks like a power 4 defensive lineman. Like he just does. And you talk about on the other side of the ball too, like those offensive linemen are absolutely insane. Like it's insanity. I mean, and it shows. Like they ran for 245 on the cross. Like that's insane. Like that's absolute insanity. And and then on, like you said, on the defensive side of the ball, Coach Dierking over there, like they are absolutely humming. They should be the most feared team on that side of the bracket. And it's just, I mean, they deserve it. They deserve it. They're phenomenal recruiters. They continue to show, who's daddy a little bit. And so but here, man, like on this other side, or like this game this weekend is going to be an absolute war. It's going to be an absolute dogfight.
It is 6th straight trip as tongue twister to the quarterfinals for the Cardinals. And I will say, to flip it back and talk about lacrosse a little bit here, and I think they've obviously put together a phenomenal season. This is nothing taken away from them. Haas, we know what we've come to expect from him under center. He's as dynamic as they come inside of that conference. But had this offense as a whole maybe taken a step back from even a year or 2 ago? I mean, what was the general sentiment on the way that this offense closed out the year? I just felt from watching this team that they didn't really have the same it factor as the Eagles teams that we've seen in very recent history. And of course, it is tough to stack up to the Helter brands and some of the other playmakers they've had in the past, but you still have, again, Haas is a very respectable quarterback. Gabe Lynch in the backfield, a dude that is as explosive and powerful as they come at that position. This offense didn't feel like it had the potential to break through at any given point. Shout out to Janke on the outside, also just hit a career milestone as well. So the fact that you have all these playmakers, still obviously very accomplished, but you guys had that same sense. They maybe didn't have the same it factor as the previous couple of years.
Well, I mean, you look at the weapons on the outside, like they are not necessarily what they had. I can't remember the name of the receiver that they had. That was just Studer, right? Studer. Like he was kind of that guy that, and I don't like to say F it, he's down there somewhere, but like that was kind of their guy last year, and you didn't necessarily see that as much. So I definitely felt it. Like the Helter brands of the world, like those type of guys, like you just didn't really see it this year. And like you said, nothing to take away from them. They're still insanely good. But yeah, I do agree with you, Kobe. And I think Jimmy might be able to speak to it a little bit more just with the relationship with the coordinator. But yeah, it definitely felt like something was off.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't really run the ball super effectively last week either. I saw Gabe Lynch only had like 44 yards. Probably pretty tough to run the ball against a team like North Central, especially when you go down early in the first half. But I would have liked to see them maybe establish to run a little bit more. But I mean, they had some really good playmakers this year, so just didn't get the result they wanted against this North Central team.
Definitely. And again, we're talking about a second quarter that if it goes differently, that pick six, for example, when they're driving one way, we could be talking about a totally different ball game. But North Central, they're going to have a test with the Royals. Bethel, they outpaced Pioneers in Arden Hills here, take down UW Platteville. Tough day for 2/3 of the remaining WIAC competition here. This is the second straight trip to the national quarterfinals for Bethel and company, fellas. And this one, I would say, I dare to say, pretty dominant fashion. Platteville goes up 10-0 in the first quarter. This Bethel team bounces back right away. The offense, you want to talk about dangerous offenses. This is a very, very potent Bethel offense, and one that might be the most dangerous one North Central has seen all year, even given that game against Wheaton. Now, all of a sudden, of course, the Thunder have woken up, but this is probably going to be the most dangerous offense, I think, that the Cardinals have faced off against.
Yeah, this Bethel team's a force to be reckoned with, man. Cooper Drews is an absolute stud. Definitely not easy to beat the Pioneers, especially in that fashion. But, I mean, you got to talk about guys like Jackson Braun, too. He's a man possessed this week. Absolutely unbelievable performance. 11 tackles, 3 TFLs, a sack, forced fumble, and recovery, for that matter. Will Bartho is an absolute menace as well. 2 picks, 6 tackles, and a tackle for loss. We talk a lot about their offense, but this defense, too, is going to be really, really tough for North Central to go up against. I mean, studs everywhere. You got Devin Williams too. There's tons of ball hawks on that side of the ball.
Absolutely. And we talk about, of course, on the offensive side of the ball, Mann's out of the backfield, the freshman phenom, who has been really fun to follow along with and see in person. Rundell on the outside, the converted former quarterback who has put up one of the most ridiculous stat lines in all Division III football this year. But they're so multifaceted in what they do, fellas. And, like I talked about, Platteville, they go up 10-0 early, but then Bethel claws their way right back into it. Here we go. We got Drews to Tyler Terry to take a 14-10 lead here. Video courtesy of D3Football.com. There's Drews, short dime into the end zone. Terry picks up the touchdown for this Bethel squad. And from there, they would roll. They take that lead. They don't give it back, boys. Bethel absolutely rolls throughout the remainder of this one, and sign of a really good football team. You have a little bit of resilience that you show in the first part of it, got a little adversity, go down 10-0 against a Platteville squad that we know could get angry at the right time on the road, but Bethel put them away, 35-14 final.
I think anytime, especially down the stretch in this part of the football season, every good team is going to give you that initial blow.
Yeah.
They're going to give you that initial push, and it's your job as an offense, as a defense, to absorb that, take it on the chin, and go back to work and attack. And I think what Coach Dewling and Cooper Drews and company did, to do that just continues to show how phenomenal that offense really is. And talking about that defense, man, Coach Mack is maybe one of my favorite coaches in the entire country. He still coordinates the defense as well as obviously being the head football coach, and continually has put together top defenses in the country. I think since Coach Mack has been there, they've been a top 10 defense in the country more often than they have not. Maybe they haven't even been out of the top 10 since he's been there. So just phenomenal job by this Bethel team. And like we said, going to be a war, man.
Yeah, the question will be, it's not whether or not their offense can keep up with North Central. I don't think that's a question at all, actually. I think this game has a chance to put up a lot of points. That defense, can they hold North Central to less than 35? Can you hold them under that number? I think, you go hold them under that number, going back and forth to last week, referencing that number, they've got a really good chance at being in this one, and that's got to be the conversation in that locker room. Williams, a big part of course, the pass game being back in that defensive backfield, that secondary, but we saw how much of a difference maker he was in the run game against St. John's, and he came down and just pad popping against some of these guys in the box and outside of it. The defensive line from Bethel won at the point of attack against the Johnnies, though, and that gives me, I think, some confidence in that group going up against North Central and that offensive line unit that you talk about. I don't think they'll be severely outmatched in the trenches. I certainly would still give the edge to North Central, but to me, that's, of course, any stage at any level of football, you win and lose at the line of scrimmage. To me, it's the same case for Bethel. Can this defense hold North Central to under that 30, 35 point mark, give your offense a legitimate chance to win this thing? Can you force a turnover? Can you give your offense a short field? It's going to be, for me, and again, we always talk about who can win going right into half and coming right out of half. There's going to be a momentum play at one of those two spots. You got to be ready to capitalize on one of those, if not both.
If Bethel and River Falls end up playing, I'm petitioning for this game to be played at the Viking Stadium.
That'd be incredible. Well, it was
That's
almost
all
in
I have
Arden
to
Hills,
say.
remember?
I know. Well, right. That would
Shout
have
out
been
Jabo. Shout out Jabo Stack.
Jabo's. Let's go.
One of the last ones, fellas, here, Eastern University. Their historic year comes to an end in not so great of a fashion, and not to put down on anything the Eagles have done this year, because it was a phenomenal season, and they exceeded, I think, every expectation, I'll be honest, from probably even the people over there. For a program that is as fresh and new to the Division III scene as Eastern was, they accomplished a lot this year. Their season comes to an end at the hands of the Riverhawks. Susquehanna, they beat them 29-0. Very, very strong defensive effort from this SU Riverhawks squad, and Susquehanna staying alive in the dance.
Well,
This defense is freaking unbelievable, dude. I mean, you go look at this box score. 22 passing yards for Eastern, only allowing 136 yards of total offense. I mean,
it's insane,
ridiculous. Especially with their performance last week. Like, Eastern looked really solid, man, and Susquehanna shut the freaking door on them. So tip the cap to that Susquehanna defense.
I mean, even you look at that.
Definitely so. And the
even look at that.
I'll show here in just a second. Shout out Logan Moyer for the video. Romario Lavalier, he comes up with a big-time pick and gives Susquehanna the ball back here. Just one of the takeaways for this Susquehanna defense. Comes up, grabs it, absolute ball hawk, jumps the route. This Eastern team struggling to get things going. A big turnover like this, that changes the tide. Susquehanna, they would take advantage, drive down, and did that a couple times, fellas, on Saturday.
No, yeah, this defense is insane. And then you look on the offensive side of the ball a little bit, and you're like, where did the 29 points come from?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The quarterback throws for 73 yards and 2 touchdowns, and then you're like, okay, Lamont's right. He probably had an insane day, right? 13 yards. Obviously Matt Sturts had a great day, 94 yards. But that just goes to show this defense is just absolutely insane. But another team that I think is a little bit flying under the radar, perhaps, and will be hungry nonetheless. So I'm excited, for this rematch coming up here, and we'll see. But man, if that defense can continue to play well, it's going to be a fun one.
I think it's to your point, I think it's very encouraging that Susquehanna can win a football game in this fashion, where Ehrlich and Lamons, the two, again, we talk about one of the more talented offensive backfields in all Division III football. If they don't have necessarily their A game, or don't even have the opportunities to have such, given carries and load and that kind of thing, you could still go win a football game 29-0 at this point in the season with a defense that probably doesn't get talked about as much as it should. I think, to your point, this team has flown under the radar more than it should have with the talented playmakers we've seen on both sides of the ball. But to win a game in this fashion, in that, I guess, big of a margin, to me is very, very encouraging for this group moving forward, to see you win in a variety of ways.
Yeah, I mean, that's what good teams do in this time of the year. It doesn't matter if you got to win in a shootout or win, like you said, throwing for 90 yards.
Shootout and shutout. We
right.
both.
You do what you got to do. You do what you got to do to win football games this time of the year.
And Johns Hopkins, they keep things rolling too, fellas. 45-13 over a Salisbury team that we have not seen with a deficit like that. You talk about a possession-based football team, and the Gulls over there, they're not used to this. This is a wire-to-wire win, as you'd call it, for the Blue Jays. They're going back to the national quarterfinal for the 3rd year in a row, and we've seen them really dominate, I think, this region, guys.
Yeah, they're freaking nuts, man. I mean, you have that tough loss. You have that tough loss week 10, but I think that loss week 10 kind of reminds me a lot of that River Falls loss to Oshkosh. I think the boys really, really, really locked in after that one. Just absolutely mollywopping Salisbury last week. The Bay Harvey show continues to be played. The Bay Harvey show has not stopped. The kid is he's Hollywood. He's must-see TV.
He definitely is. This offense across the board with him and Schroeder on that side of that backfield, man. This is a team that we talk about the offensive backfield at Susquehanna. They're going bar for bar over at JHU with the talent that they've got, and they've supplemented that with some really big pieces on the outside. You see some of the highlights from that big win, and of course some of the celebration. The boys at JHU know how to get down. Wakey. Blue Jays back in town, still in the dance, man.
Oh my gosh, no, and I love the way that this Johns Hopkins team runs the football. I mean, with the quarterback, right? I mean, Bay Harvey, obviously, rushing for, almost 100 yards. And then Jeff Schroeder, again, he continues to ball out. And then, Bay Harvey ends up having 5 tuds and Schroeder has another one. I just love the way that they use their skill players as well as in the run game with their quarterback. It's like Jimmy said, it is must-see TV.
I think he said they're freaking nuts, actually. I think that's what he said.
Right, freaking nuts. Yeah, freaking nuts.
Let's
yes,
stick to the
I did say both. I did say both of those things.
Another guy.
Freaking nuts TV.
Freaking nuts, dude.
I got a couple more guys, fellas. First one, if we're going about game balls, so to speak, Chad Martini. There's a couple stills of the grab. Here's the clip of the grab downfield. On top, go up, grab that thing over the DB. Let him know. First down, Hopkins keeping this thing going down the field. One more look at this one from Martini. Big frame on this guy already. Absolutely high points this thing, and let's keep it moving. And that is that's a phenomenal one and one that he's not likely to forget there. But a couple more shout-outs here if we're going with the game ball type of theme. Again, go back on the outside for their offensive playmakers, this Johns Hopkins team. Another guy that needs his flowers because of a big-time milestone, though, is going to be Cole Crotty. And as my internet, again, limps along here, I try and pull up the graphic. And not going to get it, of course. But Cole Crotty hit 3,000 receiving career yards on Saturday. So big-time accomplishment for him and this Johns Hopkins team. And you talk about this is a team that is so multidimensional. You rave about the run game. There it is. CC3K. Cole Crotty, the 5th player in program history to reach 3,000 receiving yards. The first junior to ever do that in the history of the program. He's got another year, folks.
It's insane.
He's not been a stranger to the show. We've talked about him plenty of times.
And now Coach Wiss got Jimmy's bandwidth too. He came back for Jimmy's.
He said, "We're not talking about this anymore."
Oh,
and I want to give a shout out to Johns Hopkins social media team and what they do.
Phenomenal.
I'm a big they're so good at what they do. They have. Again, I don't know who you are, but you got to get your a bunch of flowers we're giving out for this damn game. Let's give one flower. Let's get one game ball to the social media team down there. It could be a coach. That's usually what happens. But give them their flowers. Good gracious.
I mean, if that's a coach running that thing, dude, I'm one of them on my staff because that's phenomenal. I'm gonna go ahead and say that's not. There's no way. They got to have someone talented or even the team doing that down there because of the in-game video and other things they got going on. And as someone who runs creative for a Division II university, they do a fantastic job. They're setting the bar in terms of Division III content creation. But Carson Bordeaux also got to give that a shout out. If we're going game balls, right? Let me get one more defensive side of the ball this time. Friend of the program, he's been on here. I think that was D1R 176 or something. It's been a minute since he's been on. Let me just tell you, he's been playing the same way, if not better, since his appearance on D1 Rejects. And Defensive Player of the Year continues to step up for this Blue Jays team, boys. They are very multifaceted.
A lot of balls going out right now, man. It's awesome.
a lot of game balls.
Oh yeah, a lot
of game balls.
Yep. Let's talk next week matchups just very briefly, fellas, so we can keep this thing moving, but just at least mention them before we get going on and start things off. We talked, I think, a good bit about Bethel, North Central. Any other notes you guys want to add to this matchup?
Potentially the game of the week going to be a war.
Underdog.
Really? Wow.
Wait, repeat that, Jimmy,
yeah.
please.
River Falls is a bigger favorite. What?
River Falls is a bigger favorite than North Central?
Yeah. River Falls is -15 and North Central is -10.
I could see that.
I think the defenses here are really going to show up, and I think that's going to be the difference because both these offenses can put up points, but I think equally both of these defenses are insane. So that I think both are true.
Yep, 100%. Moving forward, we got Wheaton, River Falls. Again, we've talked about it quite a bit. This Wheaton team has seen a resurgence. They put their dancing shoes on, and all of a sudden they're stepping to a different beat. But River Falls, do they soar above?
Yep.
No comment.
I will say this though.
No further rap, boys and Jim. May as well just tack on.
No. This is actually it's related, but not really. Wheaton won the Isthmus Bowl last year. They're going to the quarterfinals. Stott won the Isthmus Bowl this year. Stott's going to be having.
If we're following the path of
last year, if we're following the path of last year,
I actually did do that.
I'm sorry, Jimmy. I heard you, bro, but I'm just trying to figure out how he fit the bill of the hat underneath the back of that helmet. That's
I don't know.
It's actually pretty sick what I just did right there.
Yeah.
But Jimmy, I'm following your rationale. I'm following your reasoning there. I see it. I see the path.
Hey, next year, a lot of things can happen for that.
Now, this year was Moen's last year, correct?
Why are we talking about Stout right now? This is the playoffs, baby.
We're
Were you even
hijacking this.
listening?
We're hijacked this
Were you
conversation.
listening to me? I said Whedon won the Isthmus Bowl last year, and they're in the quarterfinals now. So the winner of the Isthmus Bowl game, it means something.
It does. Bowl games matter, man. Bowl games matter. It's program building wins.
Don't tell that to Marcus Freeman, bro. Do not
They
tell
did get
that
gypped.
to
They got
anyone in
gypped out of
South
that.
Bend.
Neither team
almost just
played
spit my
ball,
water
and one
out.
got flipped. That's insanity. That's insanity. You can't do that. Literally, these they shouldn't even do
Join a
the college football
conference.
playoff. Or they shouldn't. Fair, but they should not even release the college football playoff rankings until they're actually going to do it. So you're telling me that two teams that didn't play are going to get jumped? That didn't even snap the football this weekend.
Yeah,
it's
no, it's
stupid.
crazy. The whole thing is so insane.
Shout out Duke. Do it like D3 does it, even though there's a million teams that get in there and everybody's still pissed off.
I was going to say that is the biggest thing for me. And if everyone needs proof of, they say, well, expand it to 20, expand it to 18 or 30 or 32, whatever. It doesn't matter what you expand it to. People will find a way to complain, and they'll find a way to complain about the system. But to be fair, I honestly think there's less complaints about the Division III or even Division II or NAIA system than the FBS and what we've seen. So, FCS has kind of followed along with the small school route in a way. They definitely have some different elements when it comes to seeding and separating regions and things of that nature. They aren't quite as financially bound, but yeah,
I just hate the committee.
Anyways.
I hate the committee stuff.
Yeah,
like I like that D3 and even FCS. I like that they do it like they put together an algorithm that we can all agree on and just shove that down in your face. However you do it, like it's the committees that drive me nuts. It's the Mike Leach thing. I'll tweet that Mike Leach quote like, "Oh, let's put him on a committee." Like, anyways, let's move on here. Jeez.
A rematch, fellas, a rematch. Susquehanna, Johns Hopkins, and kind of like my tweet said, from D1R said about this one, it's a rematch. Two very different teams than they were, I believe they faced off back in September. Here we are in December. That's a couple months difference for you guys that are a little bit date challenged. But this is a game that I think could pan out in a lot of different ways. We talked about two offensive backfields that are among the most talented in all of D3 football.
Yeah, it's going to be a really good one. I think whoever generates the most turnovers is going to win this football game. That's what I think it's going to come down to.
Sure.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think defensively is really what it's going to come down to. And like you said, Kobe, I do not think this is going to be the same game that you saw, 6-7 weeks ago. Like, it's going to be an absolute battle. 7 p.m.
Did you just do that on purpose, or did you just own yourself?
I don't really know what happened. I'm not proud. I'm not proud of what just happened. But these guys, man, like you got guys that are 6 feet 7 inches tall on this team. Like, it's ridiculous.
Nope, maxed it. Nope.
The old guy of the show ruined it for everybody.
Barry taking on John Carroll. One of the historic runs have to end. Barry, first trip to the quarterfinals. John Carroll, of course, just got the monkey off their back proverbially against that Mount Union team, and both these teams riding in a historic high going into this one. And again, all these matchups fantastic. I think saying that, it doesn't really make the point moot, but it's a very easy thing to say. All these games are going to be fantastic. John Carroll, Barry, no exception.
Yeah, looking forward to this one. I don't know. There's something about this John Carroll team. I really like this John Carroll.
I do too, man. I do too.
I like what they got going on, dude.
On the road too, I believe. Correct? I think they're going down to Georgia.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
That's always the travel is always tough, but I think like once you get down to it, like the best teams handle that. They continue to handle that the best, but regardless, like one of these two teams is going to the semifinals, and shout out to those guys for that. Like that, regardless, like one of these, like obviously, like that is an extreme. They should be very proud of getting to this point.
Hell yeah.
And whoever makes it,
how many teams are there in D3 football? Isn't it like 200? Hold on. My guess is gonna be like 270.
I think it's 241. But they might not all have. They might not all have
240 to 243.
Yeah. Yep. 240-ish. So
That's
I overshot it, but still, out of 240, that's a ridiculous number.
Shout out the NCAA Emerging Leaders Seminar. They basically just gave that on a silver platter to me right there. So fantastic conference, by the way.
Was it?
Oh, it was so good. I recommend any young GA or young anybody in college football or college athletics to attend that. So you got to get nominated, but shout out those guys.
Joining the show tonight, this man put up a ridiculous stat line. National quarterfinal this weekend, 4 touchdowns over Montana Tech in the get-back game of the century. Lowering the shoulder from the College of Idaho, it's the Yotes running back, Rylie Byington. What's going on, man?
Not much. How are you?
Excited to get you on here. I was pumped to catch a little bit of the game, but then you go back and we caught a couple clips from like the end zone view, and we've got the one where you come through, lower the shoulder. I mean, legit lower the shoulder and just power through this guy. He's decleated. He's on the turf. You get up and give me like the, get real pumped up. Lineman comes up, is in your face. You know exactly what I'm talking about. There were a couple touchdowns. I wouldn't blame you if you forgot, every one. I'm sure there's a blackout type moment, but fun weekend, understatement of the century.
Yeah, it was a great weekend, honestly. Besides having to drive up to Butte, it's not a fun drive, but the boys got off the bus and did damage, so.
That is awesome, man. That is, I mentioned it. You avenged the regular season loss. They have a second chance to take down the Ore Diggers. How do you describe Saturday, that game, man?
Man, I mean, the juices were flowing. I think our team's a really big energy team, and obviously we're hitting our peak right now at a perfect time.
Sure.
Right in playoffs. So, I mean, we're just flowing with the energy. And of course, like, we flew up there, have that, last game in our mind, our only loss of the season. And then they were saying like they're the overall Frontier champs. That's all like living in our head. We have so much going on. And then just to go out there and dominate and just be like we said the most physical team's going to win. And we were physical. That O-line those guys were physical up front, dealing damage. And you could see 2 other running backs going in, Trey and Riken. They were also doing damage. Riken had a dagger at the end, really good run. And Trey's my other wing in the Wildcat formation, or my other back in the Wildcat formation, just leading the way for me. He makes it easy for me.
Love that. We get you in a variety of different ways there. And early on, trick play from Torgerson, that goes wrong, right? You punch in the touchdown. You do it again shortly thereafter, help the boys get up 14-0. Some very powerful runs in the red zone behind what you mentioned, some really good running lanes, right? How did this offense step up their physicality on the goal line? Because you watched that. The play calling was not full of finesse. When you got 10, 5, and in on the goal line, how did that offense step up? We talked about it a little bit. That O-line, that front unit right there looked tough in the red zone.
My O-line is tough. I mean, they are some guys, and I love them. I try and give them all the praise I can, because like, obviously, a running back can only do so much, but when they're giving me all these holes and lanes, it's like they give me these one-on-one opportunities. I gotta do it for them, And my breakaways, I know I'm not the fastest, but they're all telling me in my ear, chirping me, why am I not scoring? Now they got to run down. So every time I break away, I got them in the back of my mind. But I mean, if you just watch the film, you could see our line. They're nasty. Yeah. They are a good group of guys, hardworking, loving guys. They're my favorite guys. I love them. How could I not as a running back?
I love that. Yeah, those are lanes when you watch. Those are running lanes that you get at midfield. Those are not typically running lanes that you get on the 5-yard line, right? They were doing a phenomenal job opening it up, using some double teams, some good leverage to get that thing moving. And for you, just got to be loving it when the offense is making these big chunk yard explosive plays and then going down to like the 5-yard line. I feel like that happened quite a few times. Are you just licking your chops at that moment, knowing that, hey, we've got this Wildcat package and some other just straight power type packages to punch this thing in? What are you thinking when you see the offense go down and just stop and kind of putter out inside the 10 or the 5?
Once you get out of the red zone, it's like I have so much confidence in my O-line, and obviously Trey right next to me and Wildcat. It's like, when you have that much confidence, your O-line's moving, it's just exactly, I'm like licking my chops, man. It's exciting to get down there. And, Caden's driving us down there. Yep. I'm sure Caden's always a little sad when he has to see me going to Wildcat. He helps drive all the way down the field.
Yeah.
Like, I know SOU, I had like the game winner, but you got him throwing the ball to Jackson Ames, down on the 1-yard line. And I know he was a little sad. He probably didn't get his game-winning touchdown. I got the glory of punching it, but I mean, I get all like the praise because I got like, touchdowns and yards, but the line, that's why I try and give them like as much praise as I can, because those guys, Trey leading me in Wildcat, it's like, I'm just I get to do the fun part while those guys are working in the trenches.
Damn right. And you've earned it, my friend. You absolutely have. 2 interceptions for that defense early on. This was still a 14-13 game at half, though. Yeah. I'm assuming you guys kind of knew what to expect in terms of a dogfight, especially in the first half on the road, like you said, in your favorite place on Earth, up in Butte.
Yeah, I honestly do love Butte. I love like the drive's the bad part, but getting up there, I mean, the atmosphere over there, their stadium's sick, their fans bring it. I love hearing the fans just talk trash to me, and
that's awesome.
It's just like college football, you know. It actually like gives me a good feeling, helps me play better. But yeah, I mean, our defense is nasty this year. Obviously I'm a sophomore, so I've been there 2 years. Last year they were pretty good, but this year they have stepped up like no other. It's like it's so easy to go out there and play offense when you have that good of a defense behind you. Mm-hmm. Those guys I have the same like confidence as in like Wildcat, as in like my defense getting stops for me when we don't come through.
Yeah, and you played them twice this year. You've had some experience now against that Montana Tech team. What have you come to expect? Atmosphere aside, you already mentioned what playing in that stadium against those guys is like. Well, what have you come to expect from playing the Ore Diggers, whether it's in the regular season or postseason?
We expect them to bring a fight every time, but that's like our Frontier Conference, man, it is tough.
Oh yeah,
and I know now we split, but like teams in the Frontier are no joke. I mean, you got like a lot of teams, like, you know, they get a good amount of like hand me games but like in our conference, we'd say every week, every single game is a championship game. You cannot, especially how good these teams are, you lose one game, there's a good chance you're not going to make it to the postseason. So like that one loss, obviously they weren't in our conference. So, I mean, it didn't go against our conference, but that hit us hard. Like that hurt that they were able to like say they're West and East conference champs. So
yeah, I mean, the overall, right? Because on either side, either division there, that's a big deal. You guys definitely were not lacking for bulletin board heading up into Saturday. Now, you know, you talk about this team getting hot at the right time. Has this Yotes team reached its ceiling yet in your eyes? Or you still got room to go?
I think obviously we always got room to go. There's always room to improve every single play. You know, we weren't perfect obviously on Saturday, but I mean, that's what you love, you know, like we dominate like that and we go out there and just show how physical we are, and there's still room to improve. So it's like, you know, it just gives you more and more confidence.
Yep. And now you get the task, along with finals and everything else that goes with this time of year. You pack it up. We're going down to Florida for this game against Kaiser, man. You were telling me before we got going, you know, the challenge of we got a bunch of guys need to get their real IDs to be flight compliant and just get on the plane. You know, tell me how excited you are for this trip and this matchup, of course, but also some of the hurdles that this squad's going to have to get over if you guys all want to board up and get there on time for this game.
Obviously, you know, the boys are excited. We're going to Florida, you know, we get some warm weather. We've been practicing in rain, all this cold. We were in Butte, snowing, you know, and obviously we're used to the cold, but now we get to go to Florida. It's going to be pretty hot. So we're obviously getting our water in, you know, getting over that hurdle of like completely different weather change. And then we're also in like the time change and all that. But obviously Mo's been talking to us a lot. Get your sleep in, make sure you're ready for that time change. And then obviously the ID thing is like, you know, or your star card, passport, whatever. So some of the boys are going home to get their like passports real quick, or trying to get it like express mailed to them, which is funny, but it's not like that big of a problem. Yeah. They're going to get it done. You know, obviously everyone wants to go to Florida. No one's going to get skipped out because they can't get their ID or something. If we have to have 20 guys in the airport giving all these certificates and papers, they're going to do it, you know?
Yeah. Just finding whatever like legal documentation to prove your identity, trying to get down for a freaking football game.
Yeah. The airport might not be happy, but I mean, as long as we get there.
Yeah. Just get there. I mean, hella early, camp out at that terminal if that's what we got to do. But one of the underappreciated things that goes into traveling with is a big ass group, right? Just a lot of humans that gotta get on a plane and get down there. Obviously, a really big time matchup, and you weren't there for that 2023 matchup. That would have been right before your time, correct?
Yeah, that was the year before I got in. So right, and yeah, like right as I got in there, they talk about that a lot. I mean. And that team, like, you know, that's all we expected to get right back there. And as a freshman, you know, I got my plays in a couple like here and there, but it was tough, like being like that high of a look team. We were ranked, I think, like number 2 last year. We were supposed to like get there, and, you know, it was disappointing. And we bounced back and found our groove.
Obviously, right? Because we're having this conversation, you're still playing ball. And that was kind of curious about that is, being 2 years ago, these are obviously two very different teams, right? A lot can change over that time. A lot can change over the start of the season to postseason. You'll get the results from that most recent game this weekend, right? How much do those guys talk about that game and referencing this? And what do they say about Kaiser and that matchup? Not even in terms of like, what do they say about Kaiser in the locker room, but what can they say about that matchup and what they learned playing a really talented Seahawks squad?
Obviously, we have I'd say like not a lot, but a decent amount of guys who have at least experienced it, were on the team in some way when they went and played that. And they're a good team, obviously. They get to the natty or close every single year.
Right.
They're a big powerhouse NAIA team. So it's not like we're going to underestimate them or anything. But, I think we've been underestimated all year. So this is like nothing new. I bet a lot of people aren't going to expect us to go out there and win, but I bet a lot of people didn't expect us to go and drop 40 on Tech, and then come out big and just, being like underestimated just feels us. It's been feeling us since day one, So I think, we're going to be just fine. This Kaiser team's good, obviously, but, they haven't seen a team like us. So we're going to find out,
Damn right. That works both ways, right? I mean, you're talking about being so separated geographically. That means that there hasn't been crossover, at least not in the last, 2 years, almost to the day. Actually, I think it's to be 2 years from tomorrow was the matchup from a couple of years ago. So we're right in that same territory. And when you have that conversation, it means this team is making it a very deep run into the postseason. And you guys are taking care of business, man, every step along the way. What's been a big takeaway? What have you learned about this team, specifically in the postseason? You talked about getting hot at the right time, what you've seen from that offensive line unit. What have you learned about this team, this Yotes squad, when it came to just postseason football, playoff football this year?
I wouldn't say like what I've learned, because I've known it. I felt like
Sure.
But I feel like people have learned like how physical of a team we are. We preached at the beginning of the year, day one in our, slides, like fall camp, we're talking about how we want to be the most physical team and, make people feel us when we're out on that field. And from top to bottom, offense to defense, you watch the film, you see it. We got guys laying the boom on defense. I feel like we have like 5 hit sticks a game and just the whole sideline's going crazy.
Yeah.
Special teams is like laying the boom. Offensive line is just pancakes, I mean, our wide receivers out blocking on the edge, pancakes, our team like strives on physicality. And it's been something that people have seen and, I've obviously seen since day one, but now that we're making a run, people are starting to see it, which is good. I'm excited.
Sometimes it takes getting to this stage in the game for people to start to acknowledge and start to take notice. Better late than never, but where the hell have you been, right? I think that's probably the sentiment around there, and you embody that, man. Just watching, from what I've been able to see of you this year and now to be able to talk with you and be able to watch that game on Saturday. You embody that. You definitely look excited to get in there in the red zone, have those opportunities. Those guys certainly pumped for you as well. But that's all I got for you, Rylie. I appreciate you, man. I'm excited to see this group, one, get down to Florida in one piece, get the airport, the terminal deal figured out, and then to put on a really good product on Saturday. I can't wait to watch, man. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. It's going to be a ball game.
In NAIA football, we had the quarterfinal games this last weekend. Now, we had 3 quarterfinal games. That kind of goes against quarter. Quarter, my understanding, is 4, Matt, but we had 3 games. That was because Marian, they had to forfeit this weekend. Kaiser's going to their 4th straight NAIA semifinals after Marian was DQ'd this weekend. And we'll start things off just by talking about a little bit of the why and hearing from Coach. This is the note right here, but I'll let people watching on YouTube read the note. I won't paraphrase the whole thing, but Matt, give me the cliff notes on what people need to know about this decision, Marian, how that came to be.
Yeah, pretty much Marian self-reported an eligibility violation. There's somebody playing who did not meet the credit requirement because it's supposed to be, I believe, 12 and 9 or 12 in the active season. I know that for sure. Dropped below 12 credits, didn't communicate properly with the institutional channels that they should have. And because he played as an ineligible player, that ultimately does them in. So Marian, unfortunately, after beating Dort in pretty good fashion, do not get a chance to move on.
It sucks. Really sucks to close out like this. And we talked with Keegan LaBelle a week ago, guys like Tristan Polk and this team who have done everything in their power to get this team and to will this team to this point in the season. And you kind of saw it there. It said due to a personnel change, that report, that information didn't get kind of sent up the line, if you will. And that is that hurts. And the fact that it's self-reported too, like this is, people, the sentiment was small, but there were people coming after this Marian team, cheater, you knew about this, whatever. They self-reported this. It would have been something if you waited until after a loss and then said, oh, by the way, we had a kid that wasn't supposed to be playing. No, they knew what the potential consequence for this would be given the recent history, which I'll let you talk about in just a second. But they self-reported this. They went about it amicably and in the right way. It's just really unfortunate. But, like I said, there's a track record in not so distant memory of this very same instance happening in NAIA football.
Yeah, for sure. And also just one more note before I mention that history too, like the way that Marian went about it, and typically in these scenarios, the institutions, like you mentioned, are very amicable. They're easy to work with in these situations. They are as transparent as they can be. It's just the way that the NAIA is run compared to a much larger entity like the NCAA. It's not going to be as regulated. It's not going to be as widespread, which, that's its own different conversation on whether that's a good or bad thing. Not going to imply either, obviously. It's just the way it is. It's the truth. It's the objective truth. So it's just interesting to note how this can happen sometimes. And like we had mentioned, in 2021, this actually did happen in the playoffs. Indiana Wesleyan had to forfeit their game against Kansas Wesleyan due to an eligibility violation in a similar scenario. So this, while rare, does happen, and it has happened in the postseason. So it's really intriguing to see this. The fact that it's two like mid-state schools, or mid-state schools as well, is super interesting. Obviously, there's no correlation there, but just
just a coincidence, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but just like you'd mentioned, really unfortunate for everybody involved, and especially Dort, even after losing that contest, made the appeal because Marian wasn't eligible to go. They're saying, hey, like, we'll practice, we'll get ready, we'll play this game. But obviously, just the time that this announcement came out, nothing could be done about it. And so everybody loses in this situation. The players that were preparing, the institution that had to report it, even though they were doing the right thing. It's really, really a bummer. Guys like Tristan Polk, like you mentioned, Keegan LaBelle, a lot of players that we wanted to see the full extent of this postseason.
Yep.
And now we don't get to. So really unfortunate for them. But all in all, because of that, Kaiser's going back to the semifinals for the 4th straight season.
That they are, Matt, and they do it in a different way. And I showed at least a quick glimpse there of the Dort appeal. And I'll read this one out, at least a part of it. It says that the NAIA and Dort University were informed that Marian University is vacating its NAIA FCS football second-round win over Dort due to an eligibility violation. Now, like you said, this is something that Dort, they appealed the decision, requesting the opportunity to advance based on the vacated decision. The appeal was denied. And they say here, while disappointed with the outcome, Dort University respects the NAIA's decision and will transition into the offseason and preparations for the end of the semester. And that was from Darren Kaiser, the Dort University Director of Athletics. So Dort appealing that decision, trying to will themselves further into the dance because of that. And it's unfortunate for the defenders to be knocked out in that way because, to their point, if that had been discovered less than a week earlier, this is a very different situation we're talking about. We're talking about Dort and the defenders having an automatic advance to the quarterfinals. Or, this is quarterfinal game. So it's a very interesting deal and certainly could have shaken out very differently. Now, am I saying that Dort goes in and goes into Kaiser and beats them and goes on in the national championship? It's probably not a crazy likely possibility, but we'll never know because they never get the chance. Mm-hmm. That's the part that stings for those fans and those families.
For sure. And we don't know for certain, which player it was. Was it somebody that was going to be posting multiple touchdowns or like 100 yards receiving? Like that's also the consideration to make is who exactly was playing. If it's a guy who's rotating in on kickoff and he just happened to play in 5 games, it's a different conversation. So, there's just a lot of considerations to make. Not that every situation can be handled the same, but it's just, a lost opportunity for everybody involved.
It definitely is. And we can switch gears now and talk about the teams that did play. Grandview, they did it at a very, very good clip, Matt. This was not a game I turned on because I saw the score. That's all I needed to know. Vikings absolutely rolling in this one. They stopped the run in a big way. They extend their winning streak to 26 after holding Lindsey Wilson to only 75 yards on the ground in a 35-7 win over the Blue Raiders, man.
Yeah, Grandview's defense showed up, showed out. They were ready to go. Saunders, who, while not super efficient the week prior, was able to score a lot of points.
Yep.
We noted that was something to watch going into this game, and Grandview took that and said, well, what if he just doesn't do anything? Ultimately had 17 carries for 36 yards on the ground, no scored touchdowns in what is usually, you know, a guy who's putting up 180, 200 plus yards a game, was certainly up to the task against a Blue Raiders squad that I thought was going to match up a lot better with Grandview than they did. And I should note that I did pick Lindsey Wilson to win this game, so my bad, guys.
I'm not going to let you forget that. I was definitely going to bring that up.
I have to call myself out for that one. I have to get ahead of it. There were a bunch of Grandview players that were liking my predictions tweet after the game. So
I love that.
I see you guys. I appreciate it. But yeah, man, Grandview's defense is just a brick wall. Nothing can really get past it. We talked about Lindsey Wilson being able to rely on the pass last round. They were not able to do that. Like, all big plays were limited. By the time Lindsey Wilson got on the board, the game was pretty much out of hand. And overall, you know, Grandview going 6.6 yards per play throughout the game and holding Lindsey Wilson at just 3.7, going almost double per offensive play, which is just insane.
Just ridiculous. And shout out there, excuse me, that video courtesy of SoundOff13 on X. Thank you and Todd Bailey, of course, as well, credited with the video there. So thank you to those guys for providing that. Some really good clips and highlights of this Grandview win. We talk about it. It feels like it certainly is the case. They just unleash a different quarterback, a different wearing at this point in the playoffs here, because he just evolves into a different form. And it's not to say he's obviously not proficient in the regular season. You saw a little bit of the locker room celebration from that Grandview squad. And again, they did it in a really dominant fashion. They got up 21-0. And really, that was 14-0 after the first quarter and a scoreless second quarter. So at halftime, this game, you're looking at a 14-point deficit for a Lindsey Wilson team that has overcome bigger disadvantages than that. And wearing under center, he didn't have maybe his most phenomenal day when it came to the box score, but he's an impact player in every sense of the word and every sense of the way. And the defense, like you talked about, that's the sticking point. For them to win in that fashion, at home especially, is very impressive. And they're going to have to do that in this upcoming semifinal matchup that we'll talk about a little bit. But again, it just comes down to Grandview being a much, much better football team on this given day. And it's scary enough to say I believe they're playing their best football of all season right now going into the semifinals nationally.
Yeah, it seems like they play their best when the lights are the brightest.
Correct.
And I think it's a good omen for your team that, you know, nobody in this contest stood out and you dominated a top 8, top 7 team in the country still. The fact that nobody had to carry in any capacity, everybody got their, 70, 80 yards and a touchdown in, and everyone goes home happy. So being able to keep up that consistency, be that good on defense, handle the ball, score when you need to, that sort of thing. It goes a long way, especially in the postseason.
Matt, the Falcons are going home, but they're not happy about it. The Ravens, they halt the bone, the flex bone that is, and the Falcons, Benedictine, they beat Friends 24-18 after another historic defensive performance. You tell me 24-18, I'm not thinking Benedictine and Friends because of what this Friends University offense has been able to do all season, just bullying opponents. And I knew for certain that this Benedictine Ravens squad was not about to be bullied on Saturday. And like I told you, tried tuning into this thing, the link in the live stream, not cooperating for about 10, 15 minutes. I turned that thing off because there was so much other good football on and had to flip over some other games, unfortunately. So did not get to watch a lot of this live. But going back and look at this, that performance defensively for a Friends team that is averaging, I believe, over 50 a game, over 500 yards per game, and most of those on the ground in the rushing column, unheard of performance from this Ravens team. What'd you see?
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked about Benedictine's defense being the crucial point in this contest because we know that the offense is up to snuff and ultimately, they don't score a whole lot, but 24 points can certainly get it done when your defense shows up in the fashion that they did. Being able to hold Friends to 5.6 yards per play, like that's still a good chunk of change. But when you're going 6.5, when you have the ball, being able to capitalize on your opportunities, because obviously Friends, they hold on to the ball, they chew away at clock, and they were still able to do those things. But Benedictine ultimately took advantage of the offensive opportunities they were given to be in control of this contest going into the back half of it. Friends kind of puts together a final comeback attempt, but ultimately on the final drive of the game, a fumble on 4th down is what's going to seal it for Benedictine.
That it did. I've got a good video of that here that I'll show shortly. Shout out to Noah Sacco TV on X for these highlights here. Cavante Baker and company tried getting something going through the air, and they did connect for one of their scores right there. Maybe an uncharacteristic way, the scramble off platform throw, and then we see it from Dooley and this Benedictine offense connecting down the left sideline, come back into the middle. That's a long touchdown for this Benedictine team. And like you said, the defense was certainly the one that made a lot of the plays throughout the course of the day as we see that offense connecting again for another touchdown, but it was the final play of the game, that final drive and attempt from Friends that would end up falling just short as Baker goes in for his rushing touchdown on the day, Matt. And let me pull up and find I've got the angle, I do believe, of that last play. Like you mentioned, Friends had that opportunity to go down and make this thing interesting, of course, with it being a one-score game, had that opportunity in front of them. Benedictine's defense, as they did throughout the most of the day, they step up to the call, answer, and make that stop, get back into the backfield, and disrupt the option. It was 4th and 6, 8 seconds left. That is the scenario for this one. As we pull up the video, once again, shout out Noah Sacco TV for the video. But again, 4th down, 8 seconds to go. This is what happens for Friends. They disrupt the option. Benedict, they get to the pitch, knock it out, put it on the ground. Raven football closed that thing off for BC.
Yeah, and we've talked about with Friends all year, them not turning the ball over is crucial for their offense to be able to be as high-powered as it is, and they fix those problems all year this year. But you see, Benedictine goes +2 in the turnover category with an interception, and that last fumble ultimately disrupting that option offense that thrives so much on being able to get the machine rolling. Really impressive stuff from the Benedictine defense. Like I said, I cannot sing their praises enough, especially on a team that is so focused on how high-powered its offense is. It's good to see that the defense is up to the task because, as they say, defense certainly wins championships.
Hey now. It does, and we saw it from the last 2 games, right? Big-time wins and big-time defensive performances to match. But let's keep this thing going, go out west for a rematch, and one again that I didn't get to see too much of, but I tuned in for a pretty exciting part of this game, man. Sweet revenge for this Yotes team. College of Idaho takes down Montana Tech, avenging that regular season loss back in September. 41-26 win for the Yotes. Did it in all 3 phases, seems like.
Yeah, from the jump, the defense for College of Idaho, which we've been singing their praises all season long, force a fumble and an interception to get the ball back, and 2 drives that ended touchdowns for College of Idaho. So they take a quick 14-0 lead. Montana Tech would fight back at half. It would be 14-13, but the Yotes would rattle off 4 consecutive touchdown drives out of the half break. And Rylie Byington, especially, 25 carries, 206 yards, at 4 touchdowns on the ground attack for the Yotes on the day. Just puts them ahead of Montana Tech in pretty dominating fashion. I wasn't expecting Montana Tech to be, I don't want to say bullied because they weren't entirely bullied, but like College of Idaho.
But in the red zone, on the goal line, we're going to take a look at some of these touchdowns, man. Good holes. Good lanes to run through for this Yotes offense. And again, I'm not going to go and say like they've been bullied all game because I don't think that'd be a disservice to them. But inside the red zone, you'll watch, there's not a whole lot of trickery when it came to the play calling when they got 20 and in for this Yotes team.
Yeah, for sure. College of Idaho was able to control the clock, control the ball once they got the lead, and that's ultimately what picks them up the win. They go +3 in the turnover battle with 2 picks and a fumble recovery. And Caden Young also, not to mention on the ground, 15 carries, 81 yards, and a rushing touchdown added to the effort. College of Idaho's defense made a lot of big plays when they needed to. Obviously, Levi Torgerson on the other side of the ball has had a fantastic season and did go for over 200 yards receiving, but no touchdowns on the day, which is certainly interesting for him.
You talk about Byington. Here's the clip here. He ran for 4 touchdowns on the day. This is his 4th touchdown for this Yotes team. That would give them a 34-13 lead. Kind of felt like a dagger. And this team, you see it from the boys right there. Get me going. Absolutely revved up. And you know, they start very strong, face a little adversity, come back down in the red zone on subsequent back-to-back drives, and just play bully ball from the 10 and 15-yard line in right here. Look at this. A lot of bodies moving. Absolutely plows his way through the A-gap. You saw him go head-to-head with that defender right there. Bring him out the way, him and the boys, that front 5. Very excited. Big-time performance for him. And talking with him is a blast to get him on this program because it's a Yotes team that has not really been represented on D1R and from a player perspective. So, yeah, to your point, man, 25 carries, 206, 4 touchdowns. That is wild. That's a big-time stat line.
Yeah, big time stat line and an even bigger time performance from the defense being able to slow down this Montana Tech offense that has been pretty successful. And while they, metrics wise aren't the most efficient, they put up big plays a lot of the time. And that can be hard to deal with this late in the season. College of Idaho is ready to go. They studied up from their game in September and, they take it and move on to the semifinals.
That they do, man. Shout out to Daniel Shepard for the video there on X for that. And, keep this thing moving. But we're going to talk some just quick previews here on the semifinal matchups coming up. And at least in my understanding, Matt, no forfeits, no DQs. It's only Monday. But right now I think we're on pace to have 2 legitimate games on Saturday.
Yep, smooth sailing so far.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
Correct. Let's start things off talking about that Grandview team that has been so dominant. Grandview, they're taking on Benedictine, those 2 defenses that are coming off stellar performances. They face off on Saturday.
Yeah, really excited for this one. This is going to be another fun snow game. It's supposed to be like 7 degrees down there in Iowa. Some more cold winter football, almost winter football. Benedictine's going to look to avenge their 27-24 loss earlier this year in September. It's actually their only loss in the entire season was back then in a very close contest. Granted, Grandview controlled most of that contest and Benedictine came back late, but they still made it close in the end. Really intrigued to see how Benedictine's offense, who's so high-powered, shows up against this brick wall of a defense that seems impenetrable at this point in time. Going to be really exciting to see also for Benedictine's defense if they can rise to the occasion against Jackson Waring, who seems to perform better the more pressure the situation calls for. So, what's going to give? I mean, that's ultimately the story in most of these semifinal matchups across college football.
Yep.
But something's got to give, right?
I'm just here for the storyline. I love the fact that, like you said, watching that initial matchup, like the fact that we get this full circle moment and we talk about how much those teams can change over the course of a couple months and in some ways how much they can stay the same, right? This is still going to live up to the billing as a phenomenal matchup and a phenomenal game, but love the fact that we start the season with the matchup of that caliber and also get to finish on that same note. The other matchup, College of Idaho, the Yotes moving on. They're taking on Kaiser. Spencer and company under center, the most potent offense in the Sun Conference, goes up against what I had to check was actually the 2nd best defensive unit in the Frontier behind Montana Tech, but they've already slain that demon. Now it's time for the Seahawks in Florida.
Yeah, SP plus number 3 defense, College of Idaho. They moved up 1 spot from last week after the performance against Montana Tech. Going up against, like you said, one of the best offenses in the entire country. It's going to be fun to watch both of these teams run the ball with Miller and Byington on both sides. Mm-hmm. And obviously Shea Spencer and Caden Young really can be X factors for either side of their team, depending on, can Caden Young limit the turnovers? Can Shea Spencer find his rhythm? This has the makings to either be like a 14-10 kind of game.
Okay.
Or like we could get really crazy and it could be on the complete opposite end where it's like 55-52.
Okay, so we're going for one of the extremes potentially.
Yes. Yeah. And because I said that it's going to be 28-24.
Yeah.
And that's
if we're
fine.
going off last week's predictions.
Yeah. Yeah, don't listen to what
the
I
Grandview
say.
guys coming back to
apparently.
give you a petty like on that is phenomenal.
Dude, the Benedictine guys did it too. It's actually crazy. No, you know what?
So
Benedictine and
were the
College of
bookmarks
Idaho,
rising on that as you put it
all
out?
3 teams. Yeah, all 3 teams. Guys from all 3 teams like that tweet. So I hear you guys. Okay, I see it. We're good.
Rat poison, bro. You are rat poison
Yeah.
in itself.
I guess, man. It's unfortunate, but
that's phenomenal. That Kaiser run game, you know, they've performed very well offensively in that backfield. Even after losing, it was Burnett, right? A big piece of that backfield that goes up to, if I'm not mistaken, Louisiana Tech tries his hand at Division I, and you lose a big talent like that out of the backfield. Tough to respond sometimes, and you lose a bell cow, a guy who is just built for that moment. But we knew, of course, about Miller and what his contributions have been, but some other question marks there. Obviously, the running back position is not typically one that is carried by a sole individual over the course of the regular and postseason. So for them to step up in that way and be able to not replace but replicate that production in those areas is really impressive for that Seahawks squad and says a lot. Hopefully, and we don't really know a timeline on the return of coach for this Kaiser team, correct?
Yeah, correct. I haven't heard anything.
I would imagine we get some clarity at some point this week, good or bad, in terms of he'll be back or he won't. I would imagine there'll be some kind of update or something. We'll definitely be tuned into that. But obviously, we want to see these guys with their head coach, their head ball coach, see them at full strength, so to speak. But like we talked about before, that could be a real bonding moment and give this team a real driving force, common denominator.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be exciting to see both these matchups. I'm especially excited because we didn't get to see Kaiser play last week.
Correct.
So they get to kind of shake the rust back off, which could play a factor too. You know, something to consider.
That could be really good or really bad, right? One side of you says that, hey, this is a bye week, so that's a big advantage. The other side of you says they also didn't play football last week. Everyone else is rolling. So it's a real thing. I'm going to go ahead and err on the former of like, they got a bye week that feels pretty damn good, especially when your head coach is dealing with some off-the-field things right now and an illness. So obviously hope he's back, but this Kaiser team will be ready to go.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one.